Athletes are always challenging themselves to get better. You've seen this in all sports. Esports is no exception. You can never predict the outcome. The only thing you can control is how ready you are. Over and over, players adapt, trying to improve, fighting hard for every percent gained. Give everything you've got to the challenge and show your finest. Bring your best out. Strive for perfection. It's our goal too.
Hello PUBG esports fans. One of the big differences with PGI.S is that instead of receiving prize money based on your final rank is determined by how much prize money you've won. We're awarding prize money every week, and the team who has collected the most at the end will be crowned our PGI.S champion. Here's how it breaks down. The first 8 teams to win a weekly survival match each week take home an automatic cash prize, earning more the sooner they win. From there, the winners of the weekly finals tournament get an even bigger cash prize. The first place prize being $25,000 on week 1, and growing to an astounding $500,000 by week 6, giving teams lots of opportunity to catch up and claim the title. Winning isn't the only way teams are earning cash though. 30% of the total profit made from PGI.S item sales goes back to participating teams. This money will be distributed based on the percentage of money each team won in the tournament, with bigger rewards for the higher performing teams. So, not only do you get cool skins and voting coupons to earn even more cool skins, but you're also helping your favorite teams bring home more well-deserved prize money. So be sure to tune in, pick your winners, and cheer on your favorite teams across 8 weeks of intense PUBG action.
Got me the one shot. Climbing and humble, yeah. I'm in my squad, feeling like I know I'm the greatest, I crumble, yeah. Made it from the bottom to the top, I did it there. Got these other players never fighting, breathing for air. Aiming and lock it. Winner takes it all. Taking it all. No more breaking in his mind, what? Are you ready? Yeah. Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Aiming and lock it. Shoot. The winner takes it all. Taking it all. Shoot. Aiming and lock it. You know that nobody like me, cause I'm faster when I'm stronger. Trigger happy, let me guarantee, cause the winner takes it all. You ready?
Hello PUBG fans and welcome to the bottom 16 placement rounds for PGI.S. I'm Matchroom, I'm going to be your host tonight, and joining me on the analyst desk, you can see that we've got Godspeed and Cammy D. We're going to be breaking down what has been a interesting week leading into this bottom 16, as we have a lot of teams. I guess the easiest way to look at it is, if you were to look at the assorted teams that we have for our bottom 16, you could almost think that this is a final. Godspeed, what are we looking at right now?
Yeah, so this lobby could absolutely be confused for the weekly finals top 16. It's just really crazy the way that the games shook out. Obviously, FaZe is a big story, as well as SDK. Both of those teams had multiple second places. FaZe had actually one of the craziest runs, period, when it comes to just how many points they would have garnered had they made it. But yeah, they didn't win a game, and because of that, there are some really, really heavy hitters in this bottom 16 lobby.
I mean, whenever we're looking across it, we've got FaZe, we've got SDK, Triumphant Song, TSM, VP. This is just stacked. And so it's 8 rounds to figure out how the placement's going to go through. And remember, this is a pivotal week whenever we're looking at placement, because how you set up figures out, okay, whenever somebody wins in the survival series, the next team just like position in. But remember, there's only 2 weeks left. So having a good position moving into this next week really helps you out. Cam, what are we looking at as far as the long-term impacts leading into this week, into the next week, and how this is all going to play through?
I mean, it's a little weird to think that how does this week affect the week after that, right? Aren't these weeks sort of independent from each other? But if you don't perform well this weekend in the bottom 16, you're going to have fewer chances to get into next week's weekly final, which only compounds further from there. And remember, the money is really starting to rack up. We can see all the 16 teams that we have in the lobby here. And I think Froz actually said it best when he tweeted this out, I think a couple of days ago, or rather yesterday. Of the top 5 teams on the current leaderboard, which is decided in this series based off of money, we have 4 of them in this bottom 16 lobby. FaZe, 4AM, VP, and STK. Gen.G is the only team in the top 5 of the overall event so far that actually made it to this weekend's final.
So, all right, guys, remember the fact that we start off, yes, the prize pools have been phenomenal so far, but they skyrocket these last couple of weeks. I'm talking phenomenal increases. So if you can't get into the survival series to get yourself into a good position for the weekly finals, there is a huge chunk of change that you're missing out on. And this is a pivotal week for this. A failure in this bottom 16 right now could be detrimental, not just for next week, but leading all the way into the big money in that final week. Because, I mean, God, we keep talking about this prize pool is absolutely insane as we go through. Keep in mind, guys, it is only going to be 8 rounds to decide these teams' destinies that are in this bottom 16. You can see we're going to be working our way through Miramar 2 times and over towards Erangel, then reset back in tomorrow. And for everybody that's curious about what's going on with the grand finals, don't forget, or the weekly finals, I'm sorry, don't forget that's going to be happening a little bit after this show is done. So, as we're getting everything situated, guys, what are your expectations looking at as far as moving forward in this? Like, whenever we're looking at these teams and how they're stacked up, are there specific ones you have your eyes on?
The thing for me is actually what you just touched upon. Sorry, Cameron, to kind of jump in front of you.
No, there's a lot.
The most important thing is, yes, this week is actually massive in the fact that I would argue this is probably the last week you could afford to kind of hit the bottom 16, because as you said, the prize pools the next coming weeks are significant, and missing out may actually be detrimental. Specifically with the last week being, I believe, $500,000, for that weekly final. So it's also very important for these guys to get as many games as possible to place well in the top, the top 5 really, because you want to get as many games as possible to make sure that they make it through to hit the next weekly final, which is going to be a significant increase as well.
So when we're looking at things like FaZe and how the roller coaster came through, Cam, you seem like you had a follow-up on that. I'm kind of got my eyes on teams and how we might look to see if they're going to modify it through this. Cam, what do you have your eyes set back over towards?
So we're halfway through the event, and we actually had a little bit of a break last weekend with the survival tournament, which was loads of fun on its own for sure. But we've also saw a lot of roster moves. SCK is of course going to be like the big one. There's also a little bit of word coming out from Zenith and a couple of different teams. This is going to be an interesting little bit of a primer to what the rest of this event is going to look like leading into the last week, which, looking at the prize pool and the way that this tournament is structured, the last week is it's the most important week. It is almost like you could do terrible for the first 5 weeks as long as you perform well on the last week. That is where you want to do it. And so this should be the time for the teams to really get themselves locked in. You had 3 weeks to mess around, you had 3 weeks to play around, and we did see a couple of different teams perform well, whether that meant into the final or not this week for the weekly survival. That's of course a different meta. This is where we're back to super, and we get to see where these teams have been able to align themselves heading into the climax of this entire PGI.S event.
I'll just go ahead and say it. With the week that FaZe had through the survival series and how many points they quote unquote could have made, if they don't have a phenomenal 8 rounds here, I'm just going to be heartbroken for them to like go on that ride and just not get a win, so therefore not qualify for the final. And if they have a bad round here, like what type of mental do you need to rebound from that type of thing, Godspeed?
Well, you need world championship mental, and to be completely fair to FaZe and their roster right now, they have that, sure, they had an incredible series as we talked about at the top of the show, but even if they at least place somewhere within the, I want to say like top 5, 6, they're still in an okay spot to get a good amount of reps in as far as games and to try to, close the gap and win the way they weren't able to do in the last weekly survival. So I think mentally they'll be fine. It's frustrating, but I mean, that roster has so much history. Those players have so much history. They have so much experience. I think they'll be all right. And same thing could be argued about, VP. These guys, Lou, the last time I spoke about VP, I said Spyro and Batulins had impressed me incredibly on this team. But realistically, Lou as well kind of went under my radar. Lou has been and I don't know how, he has been an absolute monster for VP. Some of his plays over the weekly survival even was just out of control. So I'm really liking VP as well. They as well, same advice I gave to FaZe. They just need to power through this, make sure they're finished in the top 6, and I think they'll be okay.
Shoot to kill is kind of its own independent question, as well as 4 AM being in the situation. I mean, Cam, I'm just going to go ahead and throw it this way. Cam, all right, so we've got 4 AM, we've got Buron, we've got Divine, we've got Shoot to Kill, TSM, TSG. Just pick a team. Which one do you want to talk about and how it applies in this situation? Because, by God, again, this bottom 16 is just ridiculously stacked.
It's going to be an amazing series of games. Even the teams that are at the bottom, even the teams that sort of didn't perform that well during the weekly survival, every single team here has had blowout games before. Divine comes to mind, where even though they haven't necessarily been the most successful throughout this entire event, they have had some really, really good moments. Even Furia, which I don't think it's unfair to say, was sort of in like the bottom 5 of most everyone's tier list coming into this event. They won a game very early on in this tournament, even though their weekly survival was disastrous, shall I say. They got 9 points in 11 games. That's really not good. But what I mean is that they have shown the ability to show up when they have the opportunity to. I don't want to say when they need to, because, well, they've needed to previously. I'm just really excited for what these games are going to deliver. It should be a very exciting best of 8 series over the course of this weekend because of all these considerations.
Yeah, the survival series is its own kind of mental meat grinder, and you've seen a lot of the teams really talking about this on social media. One, just with the length of the event, whenever we look at bouncing between different, like, I guess, game modes slash metas as we're looking for chicken dinner on one side of it, and then the super system whenever we're looking back over towards the weekends. Godspeed, what type of preparation do you have to put into rotating between these different metas?
Really, I think it comes down to VOD review, watching what other teams are doing, see if they're switching up their playstyle, especially teams that maybe you have to play against that, like kind of loot around you or use similar rotations. But as well, just overall gameplay. I mean, there's some teams in here that have consistently been here and have consistently failed to really find any sort of success this event so far. I mean, Cameron mentioned one of them, Furia. You also have AAA. You have teams like LG Divine, which, yeah, they've had like moments, but they haven't been enough. Detonation Gaming White is another one of those teams. Enter Force 36. I mean, these are teams that have really kind of just been playing mediocre, to be completely honest. And I really want to see them turn it around, because although this has been a lot of PUBG over the course of this event, and we're only halfway through, there's really not that much time to get it together. And for those teams that are struggling, this is it. This is kind of their wake-up call, because they cannot afford to come to another bottom 16.
Well, you hit on something very interesting there, Godspeed. We were talking about the strength of this lobby, and yeah, there are some teams on here that have been in the bottom 16 repeatedly, and it almost feels like it's starting to become their destiny, for lack of a better term. Does that make this kind of like a feast and famine situation then, Cam? Like where we have these super strong teams that are going to be running around just trying to run amok on some of these teams that are just trying to at least have a moment in the sun?
It's possible. That actually raises a really good point that I can't say that I've really thought about it all too much, where these super strong teams, when you're a lower team on the leaderboard like AAA, like Gex, and then you're seeing you have not only FaZe, not only SCK, 4AM, Virtus Pro, like that is really going to affect your mentality going into the game. And that's not to say that the other previous bottom 16 lobbies were didn't have heavy hitters in their own right. But this one, to me, maybe it's the weight of this week as we get further into the PGI.S.
Yeah.
But this one feels like it is probably one of the hardest bottom 16 lobbies to be in.
So expounding on that, like whenever we look at the difficulties, naturally there's a lot of different factors that we're looking at. One of them that keeps kind of drawing my attention is a team such as 4 Angry Men or Shoot to Kill, or even TSM for that matter. Teams that can sometimes be very frag heavy, and we know that to be a system that they use. Like we often talk about inside the super system, whenever you have your back against the wall and you just can't make it to the safe zone or something like that, you just start trying to rack up kill points, so that way whenever you do go out, at least you have that kill point cushion, right? Whenever we're looking at the weekly survival, that doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So
yep.
The big thing that I'm looking at is some of our more aggressive teams are really having to bounce between this, like, I guess, like the pedal to the metal style that they're more used to, or the more passive get to center circle style. And so whenever you're balancing between those back and forth, and then let's also throw in a sprinkle of like TPP as well, just for fun, that we had last weekend.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of different gears that are going on, and I can't help but feel like coaches and analysts are a key component for a lot of the success. Like Godspeed, whenever you were playing at this level, what were you looking for, and what type of like influences can your coaches have in these type of events?
Coaches can be extremely influential. They can bring you a lot of insight, a lot of things out of game that you don't really notice because you're in the moment or you're so focused on holding an angle, just little things as far as rotations as well. Obviously players have a lot to keep in mind, especially someone who's IGLing, someone who's paying attention to the kill feed, stuff like that. I think what a coach really can do for a team is kind of siphon off those different, just kind of delegate those different responsibilities to take pressure off certain individuals who may be making more calls than others, making sure communication is tight. Again, VOD reviewing, things like that. Coaches, I think, can be a massive impact, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to, the players in game, they're the ones that ultimately have to use that preparation or that advice or whatever that coach has done. They have to use that in game and actually put it to the test. It's difficult, but I think a good coach can absolutely elevate a team. We've seen that with FaZe and Dids. We've obviously seen that with SDK and Gunner. We've seen it with, Sologic, Sonics. There's plenty of evidence for great coaches out there, and they can be a massive influence on a team. Positive one. they can also be a big detriment depending on what they're feeding their team. So,
Ooh.
Well,
Are
we're
you,
almost at that stage.
referencing a previous Rumblers coach?
no, Poro was great, man. Poro was awesome. When we went to Sweden with Poro, he was great. Yeah, he was great.
Well, guys, looks like we're starting to get everything situated. So let's go ahead and give me 2 teams super fast predictions. I know, whenever I'm in your chair, I hate it. So I'm at least going to let you pick 2. Godspeed.
Okay,
We're going to start off
I
with
like
you.
it.
2 predictions, man. Can I just go with easy ones? Are you gonna judge me for
Sure,
going with these
we'll
ones?
let you go with it.
I honestly think VP, and I think either STK or FaZe. That's 3. I'm cheating and choosing 3.
Why
Those
do
are
you
my
always
predictions.
do this, Godspeed? I even
Because it's
give
the
you
way-
extra
the way
little
I roll,
toffees,
man.
and you just have to
The way
keep
I roll.
taking. And it's just, I swear. All right, Cam, give me 3 then, I guess. For shame.
Okay.
For shame.
So I don't know if I need 3 because I'm leaning towards TSG, VP. Yeah, I think and TSM because I don't know about FaZe because they just came off of a really strong week. I think that they're going to do very, very well this weekend, but today I suspect that they might have a little bit of a slower start. I know this is sort of leaning into the FaZe Sunday memes where I'm almost expecting that to happen. But it has happened so consistently. I really wouldn't be surprised here for that to be the case.
So now comes the question, guys. You guys have both worked analyst desk enough with me to know that whoever I pick in predictions is almost a caster curse. So do you want me to do predictions or not? Because if I do predictions, I'm just going to meme it just to make sure that we don't hurt anybody.
Let's see if it carries overseas.
Yeah, maybe you
All
should
right.
go with like Damwon Kia or a team that's like actually been
See, that's what I
struggling,
was
see if you
thinking.
can bring them out
Like-
of poverty. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just going to go Damwon. I'm going to go Detonation.
There
And
you
let's go
go. You got a
E36.
third.
This is your moment. Either
Ooh.
I'm going to like reverse caster curse this
Okay.
and it's going to be your best weekend ever, or I don't know. We'll just play it. I just know that every single time I pick one of the teams that I'm having a great expectation for, they have the worst weekend ever. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. There's too much on the line this time around. So you guys can hear, and you notice the fact that we've been doing a little bit of overtalk, guys. Well, they're trying to get everything set up. A small little issue for just a second. I know you heard the hype music get started. We were trying to get everything ready. But with this, we're still just trying to give you a breakdown on how everything's going through because, my God, there is still so much to talk about. So we've done predictions. Let's do a little bit more of a fun one. Godspeed, give me an underdog pick.
An underdog pick. Let me see. E36 is up there. Honestly, I might even put a team like TSM in an underdog pick. They've kind of had they haven't had a horrible event, but at the same time, they really haven't been able to make the impact that I feel like they know they can, as well as what we as fans expect. Obviously, there's that substitution with Wookie Bookie for Fex. But TSM kind of seems like an underdog to me. Cam, what do you think about that? You generally like to talk about underdogs as well.
My underdog pick is going to be Battlegrounds, I think. They've played some very,
That's a good
very
pick.
exciting PUBG at the beginning stages of this event, and we haven't seen them a lot recently because they performed not great at all during the bottom 16 of week 3, which means that they only had one game coming into this weekly survival, and you honestly can't expect too much out of a team like that. We've seen a few one-game wins every once in a while, but when it comes down to the final game, the pressure is just too much. I don't think we can count it as a mark against them. And considering the break that we've had over the weekend, break quote-unquote, with the survival tournament, I'm waiting to see them really come back and show us that sort of like man mode, testosterone-driven, constantly fighting PUBG that they introduced to us in the first couple of weeks.
So just to bounce off you real quick, sorry, Matt. You know what's most interesting to me about I for one, by the way, love watching Buriram, but my biggest issue with that team right now is there are 2 teams currently on the field that are doing what Buriram does best better than them, and that is Petrichor and that is Day Trade. I feel like they are both essentially teams cut from the same cloth. They're incredibly aggressive. They like to take proactive fights. They definitely clear out their edge pretty aggressively. The issue is that Buriram is losing most of those fights that they try to engage on, or not even making it past that first initial engagement with like a 4-on-4. Day Trade and Petrichor are both doing it not only better as far as, you know, surviving those fights and being aggressive, but they're also winning games off the back of just sometimes 2 to 3 players, not even a full squad. That's my issue with Buriram. The fact that you have 2 teams with a very similar playstyle, very exciting. Still love Buriram, by the way, but they're being outclassed by those 2 teams, in my opinion.
But Godspeed, guess who is not in the bottom 16 with Buriram? Petrichor Road and Day Trade. They're right here. So this is Buriram's time to shine. Let's go, boys.
Right. But that's my point, is that I feel like they need to take a page out of those 2 teams' book, because they're playing essentially the same style, just way more successfully. But I agree, they're not in the bottom 16, and now is their chance to show that, hey, we can actually win some fights and maybe not get wiped out early.
Well, I think you hit on something that's very pivotal for Buriram versus the other ones, and that's the clutch potential. Whenever we've seen the clutch come out from Buriram, it's been great to watch. I mean, we've seen them win fights, in my opinion, that I thought that they were outgunned on. So we do know that they have the firepower capabilities. We just haven't seen it hit that consistency point. And yes, guys, I know we talk about consistency all the time. You guys are very aware of it, but whenever we're looking at the bottom 16, I feel like whenever, especially in the comparisons to the teams that you were just talking about, the consistency, especially in those clutch situations, has been the key to victory, where Buriram's has been a little bit more erratic. Now, that being said, there is a little bit more, I would say, LAN experience coming in off of the backs of those other 2 teams, where Buriram is kind of forging their own path. And that's kind of one of the things I like about this event, is we're getting a lot of teams kind of from spread out from everywhere, and we're seeing different metas, play styles, kind of like combating each other to a certain degree, and then we see like an evolution of a new meta come out of it, where everybody is still just trying to get to grips with it. I would say that what surprises me most is how back and forth we've seen the action come into play in this, specifically in the survival rounds. Like, I was expecting those to be a little bit calmer, trying to just like, you guys remember the old stat where it was like, if you lose a player in like circle 1 or 2, there's like a 33% less chance that you're going to like win the game or something like that. That was being thrown around forever whenever PUBG first started as an esport. I was expecting more of that. Do you think that the confidence and gun skill, Godspeed, is like one of the reasons we're seeing, like, even in the survival rounds, teams just showing no hesitation for those big firefights?
I think it's twofold. First of all, I think that the confidence builder for a lot of the teams, especially a lot of the players that are starting to find success, that's a big factor as far as like why they're playing a little more aggressive or taking pushes that maybe they didn't do at the beginning of the event. And also, to kind of touch on the other thing, is just the survival tournament, I think, was a lot of those players just kind of letting loose. You know what I mean? It wasn't for like the main prize pool. Obviously there was still money involved, but it was more of like a, hey, this is a break, everyone have a good time. And we saw some teams having a little bit too much of a good time, but it was fun overall. So I think mostly, to answer your question, it's just confidence starting to surge through a lot of these teams. And
you
players.
Take that back, because I know you're talking about Oath and Snakers just rolling around inside of that Harry Potter with his pan. He won that round, thank you.
No, he did. I wasn't even talking about Snakers. I wasn't even talking about Snakers. Just
I can
in
hear
general.
that smile on your face. Don't you give me that. I know what you're talking about.
I think the event was fun, but I think the reason why a lot of these teams and a lot of these players are getting more aggressive and finding success is because ultimately their confidence is starting to surge. They're getting comfortable on LAN again, or at least the ones that are here. And I think that's helping.
So we've been casually avoiding the elephant in the room, which is the roster swaps that have been kind of going back with shoot to kill. I just want to get you guys feedback on, yes, okay, in the bottom 16 for the first time, but in my opinion, I don't see that as the biggest problem. If you're going to do a roster swap at the stage that they did it, this is kind of where you do that. So do you guys see that as being a key factor on where we're at right now with shoot to kill in this position or not?
I'm not surprised to see them in the bottom 16 after making the roster swap, strictly because even though Penta has been here with the SDK boys for the longest, for the entire event, this SDK team has been together for so long. They are such a core team all together, and PUBG, more than many other esports, requires unspoken, like telepathic communication between your teammates, because decisions need to be made that quickly. Chemistry is so important, so powerful. Having a team culture is so important and so powerful. You can't just have protocols to slot any random player in and perform well right off the bat. So I think they made this roster swap at the latest you would be comfortable doing so, and I expect to see them eventually perform well.
Well, Godspeed, I know you want to chime in on that one.
That's
but it sounds
okay.
like we're starting
Next
to get
time.
the music playing, guys. I know you guys are here for the action presented to you by Intel, Perrier, and Tubi. Let's go ahead and start getting everything ready, guys. We've got two casters that are going to be taking you through all of the action. Get us started off. It's the delightful duo of Froz and Sims. You guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Matchroom. Yes, indeed. Welcome one, welcome all. We are moving into the bottom 16. My name is Sim, this is Froz. Froz, it's an early start for us over here in Europe, but I tell you what, we've got an absolute barn burner installed. 8 games, and essentially 4 out of the first 5 top performing teams so far at this event. It's primed to be a pretty belting set of matches.
Yeah, I mean, it might be early. All you need is a little bit of coffee and you're all good. But yeah, as you're saying, this might be the best bottom 16 mix of teams we have right now. With so many top teams being down here, this is going to be interesting. I want to see, are they going to be farming kills or are they going to be farmed by the other ones? Because we still have a few teams down here, like Burram, that we've always seen them struggling getting the wins, but at the same time, they're so good at fighting that you just want to see them fight all the time because they keep on just killing people.
Well, as we kind of mentioned before, we are getting closer towards the end of this competition. Still a few weeks left. Ooh, circle. Okay, down south, down south. We'll touch on it a little bit more, but kind of set it up and see where we're at and see how things are lying on now. We do have the weekly finals coming after this, but things are starting to get kind of down to the line, how you can prepare yourself for the weeks going forward, especially in this one. We're at that point for us for week 4, moving into week 5, where depending where you're going to be standing on those tables, if you've been watching this for a while, you know how the formats work. There's no point in us kind of explaining it to you all. Be further up the top and the more chance you get right forehead. But as we roll into week 5, like the money situation now for winning this, and it's not necessarily all about the money. There is a lot of money on the side, but for these players looking to win this whole thing, setting yourself up for success week 5 and 6 now becomes extremely important. And this is where you'll see teams maybe starting to potentially, especially down in bottom 16, switch things up a little bit because we're at dire straits, right? It's essentially going to be do or die now for qualification when you come to that final area. Because if you're not within these next 2, I mean, we've got 300 grand first place for week number 5, $500,000 for first place week number 6. If you're not involved in those 2, like, your chances of winning this whole thing substantially drop.
Yeah, if you have any like secret strategies that you've been working on, they want to bring up, now is the time to actually start using them because you want to have that last week as a cushion. Like, oh, our secret strategy didn't work for week 5. Well, we still got 1 week where we can just fine tune some things maybe to get it work and make sure that it works for the last week. So it's still not too bad if we wouldn't go all the way next week. But at the same time, you want to be in the top 16. Be in the top 16, of course, so you don't need to play these kind of games because what we know so far is the average from every week, from the weekly survival to the weekly finals, it is about 10 of the teams that starts from the first game that moves on to the finals. It means a lot. Like, of course, this week we have teams like FaZe Clan, STK, VP, TSG, LG Divine, Infantry, that normally they play really good, but we're seeing them going down here, and they played all these teams that I just mentioned. They played 16 games in the weekly survival and wasn't able to get that 1 win. Just that 1 win. And if you look at FaZe Clan, they had one of the best weeks in weekly survival. Ooh, good shots.
Yeah, TSG, welcome to the bottom 16. First time we're seeing their presence known, not only on this map, but more importantly, down in the bottom 16. So it'll be trying times. There's a couple of teams, STK, Virtus Pro, and we said it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath, to be honest with you. And for them, it's a time to maybe just kind of fine-tune, I want to say. It's not a great time to be going down towards a lot of stages of the competition, don't get me wrong. It's nice to see consistency coming out from teams, players, and how things have been going thus far. I suppose the one thing that we kind of have to let's call it out for what it is, Frozen. Let's talk about it because it is a talking point. If some action does occur, we can just happily dive back into it. At the moment, it's just feeling out the map here, and rotations will kick in any second. But STK, first time down here for us, a team that has been performing absolutely fantastically. We've got to give them all the credit in the world where it's due because they have been performing outstandingly. They make it.
Yeah.
They make a team change, which to everyone's surprise, it's a team that's doing well. It's mid-competition. Everyone's shocked by it. It is what it is. We're past that point now. It's one of those things. We move on. They bring in a player, switch out one, and now all of a sudden they find themselves down in the bottom 16. Like, can we really be taking anything from this? Does that add a ton of pressure onto the new player they brought in?
There is different ways to look at this whole thing. But first of all, of course, what we do know is that they swapped out Uncivil for Pentalol. We're mid-tournament, the biggest tournament in the PUBG history so far. We're talking about the team that has the longest standing roster with 4 players playing together that is doing this change. At the worst timing, probably, but they have their reasons, and you got to respect whatever reason they had to do that they look at it from a standpoint where they say, okay, we might take a hard hit from this, but we're looking at in the long run that this will benefit us as a team. We will do better, and that's what matters. This might be the prime time to do it, because this is the hardest test to show that, hey, if we're going to make this swap and it's going to work, this is the time to show everyone that this will make the team better. Now, nothing to take away from Marcelo. Really great player, and he will probably find a new home pretty quick, considering his record and everything. But you also got to look at STK's situation right now. They're starting everything over from scratch, basically. Even if you have 3 players in the core, adding another one, you need to start over. Who's going to be the duos playing together? Well, we know it's going to be Luke and Penta. Okay, just a normal shot, not too much. But also, what kind of role is Penta going to have? Is he going to try to fill out the shoes of what Uncivil was playing, or are they trying to fit him into a new role on the team itself? All these kind of questions. But at the same time, yeah, starting over, it's not a good thing, especially when you're in a big tournament like this. And sure, they're down here, but also if you're looking at Penta, he was one of the top 10 killers in the weekly survival. STK managed to grab 98 points, which would have gotten himself a 2nd place overall a 3rd place after FaceGun and Africa Freaks. All these kind of things, it speaks to this. They might be down here in the bottom 16, but it's been damn good for them for the last weekly survival.
Yeah, if it's one thing we can't say initially, is like you can never take it for granted being down here. I mean, we're looking at FaZe, for example, who down here in the bottom 16. I'm sure Luke will be happy. I saw him tweeting about it the other day. So morning, Luke. You're probably drinking coffee as much as we are. You go from basically being week 3 winners, bang, 100 grand done. Thank you very much. And then instantly, just night and day scenario, you're down in bottom 16. It's a brutal tournament. It's a different style of tournament, and you just kind of got to work the numbers and you got to work your way through it. It is what it is, and you can talk about consistency for love nor money all day long. It's just one of those things. Keeping your head down and playing your game. Again, getting yourself in a better prime position for next week when we roll through that. It's moving up to that final week 6, and that's the most important thing. And that's kind of all eyes on the prize now, because 95% of theories that we've run, who wins that final... Carry the distance. Morning. Morning driving, it's totally fine. Whoever wins kind of that final week will win the overall thing. But that's the lay of the land for now. And what we're set up for is a cracking 8 games ahead of us. 4 today, 4 tomorrow, 2 Miramar, 2 Erangel back-to-back. Simple as that. And of course, there's more PUBG action to come all day long. So make sure you stick with us, because we do have the weekly grand finals pretty much rolling after this. Yeah, seeing all 32 teams play on a Saturday and Sunday, who can ask for any more? Drop comes in. Killmore, what have you got? It's a Groza. I don't even want to bother taking it. It's all about level 3 gear at this point. If you're happy with what you've got, kind of stick with it. Circle, we've not really touched too much on it, so we'll check in with it ourselves as casters and kind of talk about this one. Maybe not, because 4am is about to pull up to VP. VP's been rather quiet on this one. They've lured them into the trap for now. First player will fall. It's going to be crazy. The rest of them, they're out of the card. They're ready to fight this. One player in the distance. It's going to be Lou, who is on the hard transition, so needs to get here as quick as possible. I don't know if he can do too much from that distance that he's in. It's okay providing covering fire and maybe trying to stall them, but he is very late to this party, and VP should take advantage of that. Covering fire will be put down. Forever is just trying to find Hiruzen, who is ever so slightly disconnected from the team, but it is only ever so slightly. You can see 2 players to his right-hand side, with Lou up top providing cover. This will be a hard breach for 4EM. They're already on the back lines. We're losing one player and out towards the sandy bank. Second one will fall, and now this is getting very, very difficult. Circle closes while this is going on. Still got a fair amount of water in play, and still got a fair amount of work to do for 4EM. 2 players down, VP holding strong.
VP was playing that really great hold there. They know that the west side of that compound is going to be the weakest point, and that's where people will be breaching. That's what we saw. They were ready for that. Hyrule taking out a 4AM play straight away. I think it was crazy, making sure that they had the upper hand straight away. And then you had, of course, Lou on the roof there. Make sure that they had just different sidelines pushing them back. And look at this, straight away, they're really quick on that rotation. We saw that they were just north of that new circle. So they knew that they would be pretty good to rotate pretty quick if they could just get rid of 4AM. And we saw that 4AM, they did back off a little bit, and VP took that opportunity. Now we see a lot of teams getting themselves into the circle, trying to get a position where they're comfortable playing from. STK here, grabbing a lot of vehicles on the backside there, and that's usually how you kind of want it. You kind of want to park them safe because this is just circle 2, so there's still a high chance that you need to use the vehicles. But considering that we're on the southwest side of the map, there's a lot of terrain that you can just play on foot if you want to.
There's a couple of things I kind of note from that previous fight. It's where, I mean, I'm no pro player, and you can correct me when I'm wrong here. When I look at compound breaches like that, if you're going to commit to it, I prefer to see it as a full commitment as a 4-man stack. I understand you're leaving one player back to kind of check in what's going on, but if you are anticipating somebody dying, I prefer that to be the scout, then the rest of the team can kind of bail on it. Maybe have been able to keep one more player alive and evacuate the situation. The other side of it is, how rare do you actually see a team, and VP did it perfectly. They actually do the exit strategy. They get themselves completely out of the fight, mid-fight. Like, they know there's still 2 players there. They don't commit to overstaying their welcome. They're literally in the vehicles mid-fight, completely bail on it. And now they've got ahead of 4AM. They've got themselves into a pretty decent position. It is northern side of the circle, so it should be good given that we have water down more towards the south. Everyone else going to be rotating in abundance. The only 2 teams mainly playing outskirts here, it'll be Boomerang AAA there towards the north, still just working their way out of Chumisera. VP will be directly in front of them, which could be a rather difficult transition should they catch them. TSM, it's in a 2-2 split. They need to be really careful of the 2 players from 4AM that are still lurking just towards their east. So as they come forward, if they catch them, I can see Tracer Fire on the map. So they definitely made their presence where, keeping on the kill feed, so if you see either of those players from either team going down, it would be a very hard push. God Meow decides to wander by, and instantly is just battered away by VP. Batulin's checking in to make sure they can't try and pull up on this side of the building. It's a bit of a blind spot, so keeping this one clean is very important. Quite a wide split coming out of VP, I would say. There is, given you have quite a lot of land to cover, it would be hard to bring Spyro and his companion back in if a full team did rock up, so they are going to be on extreme red alert there to keep a good defensive stance on that. Boomerang again, with teams just setting up shop in places that they want to go, they'll probably just chill for now. There's no point in really hard committing to everything and losing a player.
Yeah, we're currently only in Circle 2, so we're still seeing a lot of splits from teams. But look at it right now, it seems like a lot of teams are still playing the weekly survival sort of game. We've seen them do a lot of splits, taken very easy. We see that this third circle here is going to center up, and we're still going to have a little bit of water, but remember that the next circle will be pushing out that water with the land ratio. So a team like FaceTime is probably just going to group up by Uba and Gustav in the center there. Meanwhile, we see Gems get himself a kill on Edie. And Burram now sitting on the edge. They got to find their way in, and that goes for a lot of the teams. STK doing a rotation, a pretty quick rotation here. They have the low ground to work with here, but they also got Damon Kia just in front of them. So it's going to be interesting. Looks like they're going to stop, taking a little bit easy. GX being up here, being a little nuisance. I don't think they're going to do much, but they are inside the circle, so they don't really need to move right now. Having the high ground, they can grab a lot of information. It's just important for them to be playing all 360 degrees around them, GX, right now, because if not, there's a high chance someone will just roll up on them. There's a big area they need to cover up there.
How many 2 teams really hard committing to the central positions on the previous circle? Again, there's a couple of positives, negatives. Yes, you're in reaching distance, really, been everywhere you want to go when the next circle does pop an update, but there's very limited amounts of land that are good holds that you can take currently with FaZe and Fury are controlling those main spots. A lot of them hoping that maybe the circle move more north. That's why we have still at least 4 or 5 teams that are outside the circle even on this transition period. God V, a few shots onto TSM, and TSM have been keeping a track of 4am. It's kind of a parallel transition at this point. Some damage is done to players while traveling. It's actually Vard, unfortunately, will be the first one to fall. Tries to make landfall over by Furious compound. Miraku's damaged up, and that's from the previous engagement off the back of 4am. Okuri, that's a banger of a shot straight to the back of the head, and at 50% HP, there's nothing really you can do about that. TSM going to have to pull up and try and do something here because they are just being pretty much pincered from all angles. If Byron get the heal off, fair play might just be out the line of sight of Godby on the hill, but I tell you what, Wookie Bookie absolutely isn't. With the grenade down, that could be all she wrote for one of these players, if not 2, with a little bit of damage done across the board. Necro onto God Meow. Another player tries to try and do something on the side of Boomerang. Transitions out in the up, and that's a good nade. Finds Iroh. 50% HP once again, and really, there's nothing he can do about this. With the level 3 vest, there is a bit of a defensive stance he can go down, laying on the floor, try and avoid those nades as much as humanly possible, but ultimately, as soon as he stands up, if 4am don't shoot him, well, Detonation Gaming White probably will.
The hard thing for TSM here is that they tried to do a rotation towards the center. They wanted to get in, and in this current circle, there's so much open space. There's not a lot of compounds, so they were trying to go for something where they thought there wouldn't be as many people. And this was, oh, there we go, TSM out on 16th place here in the first game. But they were trying to go for a place because it's so open right now in the circle that it's not going to be a lot of people playing in the center. Most of them are going to be playing the edge because it's easy when you don't have a full compound to have some cover with to play with. And it was a good try, but in the end, it was not working at all. Now we're seeing that new circle, of course, popping to the east, and yeah, the water is now out, and now is where the whole game will start. We're gonna see a lot of people getting killed on this one, trying to get into the circle because it is once again not many compounds. We basically have 3 compounds right now, 4 compounds inside. All of them are already taken. We still have 15 teams, 55 people alive.
Turtle's the first victim that falls on the side of LG Divine. That's FaZe putting up a bit of a stance. See the commitment on the second one as well, so Levi's also falls, and that's just seeing them across the road from there. They haven't actually pulled up on it. That's just a transitional knock, but the ones that are going down, it's going to be in front of our face. This fight is about to unfold. You've got Boomerang, AAA, K7, all within reaching distance of one another. At the moment, Xenan is down for K7, so the revive is probably not possible given the blue in the position that it's actually in, and the problem for everyone else is the second they start running, it's just lambs to slaughter. This is not good. Everyone is just scattered into the wind at present. You can see Lou's actually chiming in to steal this one up. Some shots from a distance will come. Janku has to fall back for now because of the blue being here, so eventually they have to get into these vehicles and maybe get the hell out of dodge. There's not a lot everyone can do, and for both sides, this is just utter disaster. This is just messy. Everyone else is just picking them apart from the sidelines while they just have the fight go toe-to-toe. I can see E36 is behind all of this, just shooting into the distance. Now, Adra's had to hold his ground because nothing else really he can do, and ultimately puts the nail in the coffin for K7. They look like they were in a better position compared to everyone else. They were the ones holding back AAA. Now, Adra puts a second nail in the coffin for a second team, so it's job done for them. I think he's the only player left. I didn't quite catch it there for his team anyway, so ultimately could be spelling disaster once he moves forward. IQ 500, finds under, down 1 Kia. While it does not an actual death, this grenade, if he finds that little dip that they're in, that'll be 3 players just being expelled from the server.
That would be great to see. But yeah, it's hard for Kia to actually look up towards Division X Gaming there as well, because as soon as they start looking over that little ridge line towards the road there, that's when you're gonna see STK on the top shooting at them. So that's gonna be super hard. Spyro finding another 4am member, but Lou getting back there a little bit now. 4am down to only Xiao Lu left. And it's going to be rough, but it looks like he's going to get away. We got a new circle. It's going to go to the south. And as you can see, a lot of the teams are already inside, but some of the teams still need to find a way in here. Blue Trying to get that nade on the high roost, and he's gonna find him. Ooh, he does seem. Ooh, that's a good nade. Now,
They don't want
2
this,
left on
Roz.
VP.
They don't want this. This is like he's been such a nuisance. He's distracting them completely. This has allowed Furia to step into the back lines for VP. They've just been, that's 3. Oh my word. He's just picking them apart from up high. They committed to the low ground, and Verda's prone, unfortunately, stands up to the name or lays down, whichever way you want to kind of look at it, and they fall in the ditch. 3 players being taken away from Lou. 1 member single-handedly just breaking everything they were trying to put together. That allows all of a sudden Furia just to step up to the plate. They walk in, they clean up, and 4AM, I'm surprised, as a 2-man band has somehow managed to outlive them. This nade should be good given how little health Xiongjian actually has. And it's a perler, it's perfect. Down he goes, so 2 spots. That one for under. I mean, it's a matter of putting the smoke down, seeing how we can actually survive this one. And for Lou, it's, you know what, let's just, if we can't go forward for us, we'll do it backwards. It's totally fine.
Oh my! Are you kidding me? Xiao Lu, he actually gets Wallbear on that one. He just turned on him. He gets the finish as well. He flushes him. And now it's only Sia. Okay, Sia does find him. But that was, Xiao Lu. How do they
disgusting.
let him do that? How?
That's actually disgusting. Holy, what a turn that was. Very little HP as well.
That is why 4AM, that is why Xiao Lu is one of the best in the game. He showed us that, that's for sure. Not only did he manage to take out VP, of course, with a little bit of help of Furia, but he also managed to get away from that fight and then take another point out there to the team. And they go out, sure, on a 10th place, but they did get 5 kills overall. So not a bad start for 4AM at all.
No, not when you think that they lost 2 off the back. I mean, it's kind of wild to think that it was actually VP who did the dirty to them and then turn around and they get revenge like that. They actually removed more from VP than what they did in the previous at the initial compound that they spotted. So rather unfortunate spot for VP, puts them essentially at the mercy of 4AM from up high. See, damage has been done to Purdy Curdy. That's going to be the Molotovs, and he's very weakened as well. So a second one might spell disaster, especially if he's going and trying to commit the hard res. You can't see these molars in smoke, so you're going to have to be super, super careful. For now, Halo's actually managing to avoid the fire. Pure Boy is giving away his position, and I'm assuming someone eventually will be making it, but just as I look at that map instantly, everyone is just magnetizing towards the north. FaZe are going in for this. They want the clean and sweep. Like, for one team, there's potential to get so many frag points here. Everybody is just kicking the living hell out of one another towards the northern side of the map, and FaZe is just slowly encroaching on their position.
FaZe, they've seen it, they've heard it, and now they want to be part of it. They gets one, Gustav gets the first one, going with the nade here, and 80 gets the second one. Now it's only 2 left on DGW here standing. FaZe just wipes them out, and that's it. That's some 3 points for FaZe. Now they can work their way in, but don't forget GX. They've been here the whole time. They're having the high ground. They've been looking at you, and they've just been waiting for this opportunity to pick apart on FaceTime right now.
Yeah, 7 frags is a cracking way to start, especially when you got 4 alive. I mean, look at the disparity in the top. It's DGW, they're the only ones that are out fragging them at the moment, but they're all dead. So FaZe is looking pretty strong, and we're talking about a team here that goes from getting first place into the first treble-digit prize fund, instantly dropping down here, but still with 120 points. Like, you kind of briefly touched on it. It's hard to put it in comparison. Had it been any other day, had it been any other competition, they would have been crowned winners of this. And starting off hot, we'll see, because we've seen it before where teams are looking good and instantly everything just kind of falls apart. I don't think FaZe are going to let this one go, especially with the amount of room they have. For now, we'll focus on this fight, though. STK is back to a full 4-man band. Pure Boy, finally. Silence for all but a moment. Sylphia, I've seen a couple of headshots come out the K9 in the kill feed. We'll see if any of them can ring true within the small group that is up together. Don't give him that line of sight, because if he gets it, it's really going to hurt. But it's actually Satu. Left-hand side across the road that will do the damage. I didn't realize as well, Frozen, something to make note of. Indigo still has to show his hand here, and E36 could be the one that feel the full force once he reveals himself from the shadows behind them down the road. Sylphia still trying to find that knock. And again, we've spoken about how bold actions can be valuable, but the time limitations on them is there, and this time it hasn't come through. Indigo finally working his way in there. Tunnel vision on this fight, and rightfully so, Froz. He really could be a dagger in the back.
Well, Indigo is just going to wait for the right moment. Actually, he's going to go for it right now. I think, yeah, he does find Ammonot, and now E36, they got to be careful. We see that Sylphia and Sato is still just turning straight towards the back now. Look at it. Sato goes down as well to Indigo, and now E36 in a bad position with STK seeing this as well. They might be pushing. But no, Indigo goes out to Gustav, actually. But look at the map. GX, they've spotted this, they've heard this, and they want to be part of it now. They are looking to find themselves into a better position. And E46, they were just 4 players up. Now they're down to 2 and in a bad position as well. Playing in the low ground there, being basically pinched by all the other teams right now.
A bit of a domino effect, unfortunately, for STK there. Sylvia comes in with a bolt action, 1 player knocks, and then all of a sudden it's time for them to push. Indigo then says, you know what, everyone's getting involved. Let's also get involved. Flashbangs are well and truly in abundance. STK are just dabbing at the moment, completely wiping their brows, and same goes for Sylvia on the opposing side, but it's Leo from up high. And we said third parties are going to be well and truly in abundance for this fight. Everyone else is grouped up into a corner. Enter Force 36 will fall. 10 frags. Double digits already for FaZe Clan. They've just been having an absolute field day over on top of the hillside. Ayo, maybe it's time to try and get ourselves back into the circle and just leave STK to the roadside and see what happens from that. But for GX, don't lose track here. Don't forget that STK still. You've committed to the drop. Fair play. I'll give you that. It's some level 3 gear. But you haven't finished the fight that you got involved with. You've left STK to run free. Now, does that have any ramifications as we go forward here? Or do FaZe Clan absolutely know what's going on?
I'm not sure. STK is making a great move here, actually walking on the low ground. Because now, when they got the distraction of FaZe Clan, GX might actually pull up on FaZe Clan here. We'll just gotta wait and see what's gonna happen. Ooh, Uba finds Ayla, of course, with that mini. We know how deadly it can be, and we see that Luke back there is very low, and this is going to be hard. You can't get that rest. They don't really have any utilities. Remember how long they've been at the roadside. Purdy goes down to Leo, and this is just bad for STK right now. It looks like it's going to be going down between GX and FaZe Clan. We still have Luke, of course, down there, but looks like, yeah, he's just going to die to the blue. Not going to be much done from STK. They were in a bad spot, but now 4 versus 4 here. FaZe Clan versus GX. We're in the first game here for this bottom 16 games. And look at it. FaZe Clan got 11 kills already. GX, they got 4. Both of them pretty fresh when it comes to utilities, armors. And they're just looking for it. They both want to win here. None of them was able to get that win during the weekly survival. This is time. This is a redemption time. Get that win. Get those points.
I like it how it was kind of mirror image initially when we hopped on board with this fight. It became to be a 4-4. Both sides had 3 players committed to the south, and then you'd see CC for GEX and Fuzzface for FaZe over by the north being the ones to kind of just stop anyone with a full back build. Had they wrapped round, it could have been deadly, so having that one player as an anchor point to be able to work off the back of, it's crucial. Now, in terms of ground, it is CC who has the higher ground. And it is actually Yan Lee and co down below Leo behind him as well that has a more central position. So for FaZe Clan, they are up against the blue. And that's probably something that Gustav wants to avoid. You don't want to be in a position where there's nowhere else to go but forward, because then you're held dead to rights by a team. For FaZe, they need to get a bit of breathing room here. They need to move forward. Uber still is out towards the blue, just sweeping the MAC lines, make sure there are no snakes in the grass. And it actually will give him a better angle of approach, I would say, to see if GEX want to hard push this. Now Fuzzface has joined forces with Gustav. This kind of got a bit harder. This was CC's job to deny this. This was CC's job to stop FaZe's approach and to stop them taking the high ground, essentially wrapping round. And I've got to say, Froz, he's completely lost track of them on the right-hand side.
It's going to be hard. If you're CC right now, you're the one who can't go down no matter what. You're making sure that you're not getting flanked. The team is not getting flanked. But the other 3, they need to make something happen as well. They can't just slowly make their way and creeping without getting any information. They got to be the first one to take the contact against FaZe Clan, to get that first knock. If that doesn't happen, There's no way for CC to be holding there by himself. Then they should rather be all four grouped together, play as one big unit. But the thing is, when you do that, there's such a high chance that you'll see a team like FaZe Clan doing a 2-2 split like this and flanking you. And if you're not ready for that flank, it might be catastrophical for you, the outcome itself. But right now, I'm liking what I see. We see 2-2 split from both the teams, and basically they're just looking for that first initial knock. No one wants to aggress too much right now, but look at it. FaZe Clan, they're making a little push here. Fuzz not really finding CC.
Oh, the head has been taken clean off. Damage has been done. Nade will follow up. CC will be fall. They'll be the first victim. Leo did come back for support. Gustav goes in for the kill. Leo will fall. Fuzzface now spots the two on retreat. 5 kills single-handedly. For Gustav comes through, and now all of a sudden GEX has just been dismantled. Mao will be the last one. He says, you know what? Let's give it up to the blue. Let's not give away any more points and a final frag to say bye-bye. The win comes in. The win that could not happen last week. Kicks off for FaZe Clan. And I've got to say, Froz, like this team, it's clinical. It's so clean every time. I know every team can have its bad games throughout PUBG, but when you watch FaZe's good games, it's just so crisp, so clean. 4 players alive, so many frags in abundance as well as the win. It's just, I can't imagine how good the communication is. Like, to be able to fortify something like that where it's so calculated, it's just so damn good. It's a real pleasure to watch from a PUBG stance.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you expected from a team that played so well in the weekly survival as well. They were just not able to close that one game to make their way to the weekly finals. But at the same time, this is the same shape we saw them in the weekly survival. I think they're just going to keep us steamrolling with that win, of course. But let's go to the desk and see what they have to say about this game.
Well, while victory was a little bit elusive during the week, finally FaZe managed to pick up a win as well as stacking together a ton of kills. Godspeed! You were kind of talking about this and the real kind of hold and the pivot that happened in the very last fight between Gex and FaZe, and it was the Gustav play against CC on the side. Can you give us a little bit more insight on what was going on there?
Yeah, it was Gustav, and I believe it was Uba coming up that side with him. Regardless, CC was the only one holding. Kevin and I were talking about this. CC was the only one that was kind of in charge of the north and watching that flank. And as soon as he fell, I basically called game over because FaZe poured over that hill and they were able to just punish the rest of Gex. If Gex had maybe fortified that with a 2 or at least played for trade, they could have slowed down that push for FaZe. But FaZe also set that up so well. I mean, Sim said it best. They were so clinical once they had gotten it down to 4 teams, and it was just a matter of cleaning up the circle at that point for them.
Cam, 24 points to get this started off for FaZe. Remember, there's only 8 rounds inside this. That is a hell of a way to start everything off.
Yeah, and I'm calling myself out. I said that I don't know if they'd have the exact same level of play at the very beginning of this weekend. I expected them to have I didn't expect them to do terribly at the start. I expected them to have at least a little bit of a slow build-up, but they've been performing great. You saw their kill numbers, 3 of them on board. Damage numbers, still 2 of them. Gustav especially performed very well with the numbers in this previous match. And just comparing their kill points to virtually every other team in the previous game, I'll be clear, that area, that terrain of Miramar is very difficult to play around because of the gross delineation between high ground and low ground.
Yeah.
You could, you could definitely find smoother areas to play around. FaZe mopped up everyone involved. So many teams had difficulty trying to get up into the high ground there, get up into the late game, really fortify their position with the way the circles have shifted. But FaZe, they were just having a field day.
You mentioned the terrain. Shoot to Kill had a literal uphill battle that led to a little bit of struggles for them, but there was also a standout moment for me, Godspeed. That has to do with Lou on a buggy and the ridiculousness of what happened there. So just give everybody a refresher on that moment and please explain, how do you get away with that?
So Jalu had the presence of mind to get in a buggy with I think his back right tire was initially out, and he went backwards in the buggy, which If you don't know, it's actually kind of a pain to try to shoot someone out in the back of a buggy because of that back seat. And so he actually used that as cover as he rolled backwards in reverse down the hill. And then he immediately got out and turned on, I don't remember who it was that was shooting at him, but he immediately turned and got a knock, which was really disgusting. We've seen plays like that from 4 a.m. Before, but yeah, Jalou put on a show there. That was kind of ridiculous.
Cam, are we seeing some potential signs of life for Detonation Gaming White and potentially Damwon Kia as well, walking away with 8 kills and 6 kills respectively? 4 a.m. down below them with only 5. Naturally, FaZe was up at the top of it with their 14. Great plays coming out from them. But these are two teams we've been, I would say, waiting for something to happen around.
I am more interested on, as you mentioned, signs of life from Detonation Gaming White. Kia, they've broken my heart way too many times. I'm going to have to see persistent, consistent performances by them before I throw my hat back in their ring, because they betrayed me at the very, basically, ever after the opening weekend.
He's done with that.
Yeah, but Detonation Gaming White, though, we've seen good moments from them previously. They are from, I think it's fair to say, one of the weaker regions from Japan, which is a region in East Asia that I don't think there's a lot to expect from them, but they've really come up and said that we're the best from not just our country, but we're also trying to become one of the better teams in the overall Asian region, much less the world. So good moments from them this game. 7th place might not have been the game they're looking for, but they got 8 kills doing it.
That was just the FaZe show. Let's be real. There were so many kills. The way they played that, the stranglehold that they had on the in circles, just the awareness and how they maneuvered through the terrain, catch Gex off the side. Godspeed. Do you think that this is going to be the trend that continues forward? Is just FaZe on a roll and couldn't find a round win over the last couple of days, and they're just finally going to decimate everything in vengeance now?
I believe it was small missteps, that caused them to not get the win before in the weekly survival, but they played incredibly consistent, and I think they're going to continue to do this. I said at the top of the show that I felt like these guys have that championship mentality. I thought they were going to come in here and do just fine. I think just fine is an understatement for that last game, but hey, they still have 7 more games, and they could make little slip-ups or mistakes here, but I think FaZe is going to be in it for the long haul, not only in this weekly bottom 16, but as well as moving forward, because I think they just get better. We've talked about them getting better throughout every event. They've had a long time now to warm up, and I think we're seeing the FaZe that we kind of expected from the beginning.
Well, guys, big shout out and thank you to our sponsors, Intel, Perrier, and Toomey, for everything they provided to bring us all of this phenomenal action. We're getting everything set to move into the action itself. We're going to have Froz, we're going to have Sims. They're going to give us the rundown on everything that's going to be happening in match number 2. You guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Yes, indeed. Game 2. Here we go. 16 teams will drop once again. We are in week number 4, match 2 of the bottom 16. Everyone trying to set them up for success as we move into week number 5, which will be $300,000 first place prize. The money is starting to get real, and these teams want to be up at the top to try and make it happen. So we start up at the north. Play will be taking us all the way down to the south. Pretty much, I would say starting central map, but moving a little bit more towards the eastern embankments. Puerto Paraiso within reaching distance if you want to kind of take it down that low. Probably a few teams maybe just... You're going to have your bottom end areas in abundance. STK, Detonation Gaming White, Chumisera having a team in there. You know the lay of the land. You know where these teams like to drop these days. Scoreboard, left-hand side, you can kind of see the night and day scenarios that we're starting to see unfold for us. I mean, it's... I have to say, it's been a bit of a telling sign of this competition thus far. FaZe 24 points. TSM 0 down at the bottom. First team to be falling. For TSM, it doesn't tell the full story, in my opinion. It's not great. Things are not going well. But they are missing, arguably, the best player in Europe. And it's Wookie Bookie is a damn good player in his own fine right. But the fundamental knock-on effect that it's had onto TSM is just... It's drastic.
Yeah. I don't really care if you put what you would consider the best player in the world into any team. That would still have knock-on effect on a negative side on how to play as a team, because you're not basically playing the same game. But what we saw that early on, I'd say Wookie Bookie was able to find his role in this team. But right now, this is kind of what we've seen from TSM the past year. I'd say they kind of always lose people on the rotations. They're trying to over-rotate a little bit. I'd rather see them playing a little bit more edge and trying to take the fights rather than go for those rotations straight towards the middle, losing people, and then they just got to scrap on from there on in the games. Now, we saw in the last game, of course, they lost, well, basically one person, and then everyone just went down in that rotation circle two. Xavier here with a little bit of trouble of rotation on his own. Now, talking about K7 Savior, around Power Grid here, we always see K7 set himself up with a little bit of a trap because 4AM, they like to rotate through here. And there's so many times K7 is just like setting up a trap. They get 1 or 2 kills on 4AM, and then they just move on. And we've seen that happen so many times. We didn't see it happen last game. 4AM did lose 2 people on a crash towards to VP though, but they recovered. They did recover in the end there and got themselves a few kills. And it's been interesting so far, I'd say. First game, as we saw, going to FaceCon. And I just want to mention while we're on FaceCon that we saw in week 2 not qualifying for the weekly finals. They were down here in the bottom 16 games. One thing we did see was that they ended up on a 5th place overall in the bottom 16. They played 3 games. They managed to qualify for the weekly final, for week 3 weekly finals. And what happened there? Well, they won the finals. They got to 1st place. So seeing them being down here, I wouldn't be too doubtful about them having a bad performance for the upcoming week, no matter what happens, because we saw them in the weekly survival having such a good run of games, and basically right now they just continue on that run.
It can happen, and I mean, I think it was a Freak of Freaks, for example, who didn't qualify through the initial seeding, and then worked their way up through the rankings, through the chicken dinner format, and then ended up winning week number 1. So even when you are down in this bottom 16, it's not over until it's over, right? That's, for example, I think that kind of leads on someone like Digital Athletics, for example. I'm looking for, and Metagaming is a big one. This week, and I know they're not in, those 2 teams specifically are not in what we're playing now, but Meta is somebody who I'm excited for this weekend. I want to see them do well. They've really found their form down in the bottom 16. It sounds weird to be saying that. It's if that can transition to the top 16. We shall see today. I'm going to be watching with anticipation to see how they do in that one. But certainly, it's not over, is the whole point I'm trying to get for teams like Meta, for teams like DA, for teams that are any of these 16 that are down here. There's still a few weeks to go, but once next week's over and done with, like that's kind of it. It's all cards on the table. You're going to have to throw everything at the wall and see if it sticks, because if it doesn't, well, you're not going to win this event. It's as simple as that. And now the money is starting to get ridiculous. We're at that point where this is life-changing sums for some of these guys. You know, you can whoever wins this final week, like, the players are probably going to be able to go and buy houses, buy homes, at least not put a decent deposit on it. And look at me, the old man, talking about deposits and mortgages and everything else on a broadcast. But that's kind of how I weigh things up these days in my old age. You're older than me, so you know it feels. But like it is it is ridiculous to think that, like, you can buy property at this level. It does set them up for life. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting few weeks for us.
Yeah, it will for sure. Now, you can look at it from whatever way you want, but all of this, the first 5 weeks is all just warm up for the last week. That's what it's all about. It doesn't matter if you don't win. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you don't win anything for the first 5 weeks. If you manage to be in the top 16, be in the weekly finals, that is the first goal. That is the first goal of the whole tournament. The second one is to get that number 1 spot. Of course, even if you get yourself a second place or third place, that's going to be a lot of money too. But you want to be on that first place, getting that 500K, and you can't forget about the crowdfunding as well from everyone out there. You know, that's going to add a lot more to it. And as you're saying, life-changing money. But right now, it doesn't matter if you doesn't make it. Warm up. That's what we're all about here.
So what you're telling me is that Down 1K this entire time have just been baiting us. That they're gonna win the grand finals and they're gonna be the winners. Okay, all right, we'll roll with that story, and I'm sure Clinton will absolutely love me for bringing that one up. But yeah, it's and you know what? Like, I know we're memeing having a laugh at the moment, but it is someone like Down 1K where I look at a team and think they have not lived up to the expectation that I expected from a Korean team that looks so good that I had in my top 2, top 3, the potential world beaters. Like, I remember we were talking about this in the seeding matches, for instance. Like, could this be the downfall of Gen G? Could this be the people who take the title from them and who lift the belt when this is all said and done? And ultimately, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be blunt about it. They have failed to impress. They have not looked good. They have looked a complete shadow of their former selves, and things have just not gone right. But there is that tiny glimmer, that tiny glimpse of hope that this competition is not over and done with, and somehow they qualify next week. They're going to make it into week 6, and yeah, that's when the big money starts to chunk. And we've seen a couple of teams go from bottom 16 to winning. We spoke about it. You know, FaZe have done the exact opposite here, but excuse me, they did it previously. FaZe, a freak of freaks. There's still opportunities. These are all the stories. It all comes down to when it happens on the day. So we'll see what happens when it does unfold. For now, Alo, first victim to fall, but it looks like the res is coming down. Not a problem whatsoever. Smokes will be there. Bit of utility wasted ultimately, and it's not never something you really like to see teams committing their utility early. It hurts the economy later down the line. Circle still pinpoint smack bang Montenuevo. Central point, FaZe happy. It's not a bad going from winning a game to having the circle initially right off the start, and everyone else for us is now inside the circle. So it's just finding a footing and waiting for this next one to move.
I'm actually quite surprised that Burham pulled back from that one. Even though they got the first knock and it was kind of a bad push if they would have gone for it, but that's kind of the trademark of Burham. We go for any kill we can, especially if they got a knock as well. But they're growing. They're learning. And right now, they're seeing the effects of them trying to take those fights. Even if they get a kill or two, maybe, and they lose one person, it's going to hurt them in the long run. It's not going to help them win the games. And because of that, we do see them fall back from that. And it's nice to see, because this is what we're expecting from teams. You learn more and more the further you go into the tournament. And this is what I'm talking about with that warm-up until week 6. It's all about learning about your opponents. How do you get as much information as possible about them, learning how to make yourself play better? Because, I mean, week 6, the prize pool is just way too big. But we're going to see a second circle popping in a second. And okay, we've seen this one happen so many times before, going towards the north. And look how many teams are set towards the middle. Look at the north side of the circle. It's basically empty. But look at 4 a.m. right now, and Crazy's on the north side there. Wouldn't surprise me if they try to get themselves into a prime location right now. They know that not too many people is around them because they have been up there the whole time. Now everyone's going to try to make the rotation into the circle. I'm trying to find a few rotation kills maybe. Getting a point here and there. Not a bad idea.
So this circle in particular has something that really plays a factor. You have like next to the field of where El Pozo is, you'll see like a hook-shaped, or like a claw that kind of runs down the mountain. Now we know the circles don't end there, and that plays a factor on where it pushes these circles to. I'll pause for a second and continue on that. I didn't realize we actually had a pull up here. LG Divine are at the door with Division X. First knock comes through, IQ 500 falls. Fight will unfold between Neil on the opposing side, but the rest of Division X have arrived in abundance. So, for LG Divine, you have to be ready. You have to be quick off the draw. Long K. First knock comes in. To the response, JN will fall. All of a sudden, LG Divine are on the back foot here. This isn't good. This has gone completely wrong. You had these boys maybe bang dead to rights, but damage has been done in abundance. So if Turtle can just get a nice angle, he would be able to capitalize on all the damage that has been done thus far. VP lose one in transition, rather, unfortunately. Also, good response. Levi's, where you at, my dude? You need to be involved here. Bad Molly, though. Bad Molly. Doesn't go in the window, smashes on the floor, and it comes down to Turtle to try and stay alive. Thankfully, the splash damage wasn't there, but Levi's didn't even get to this fight. And I have no idea how, but this has somehow for us turned into a 1 versus 1. Neil, who's got the initial drop? Who's going to have the guts to be able to try and take a stance? Neil doesn't have the position read. He was pre-firing the corners. He thinks he's inside. Popped on board to a different fight because we've had a couple of little feisty and spicy pull-ups here. STK are eyeing a compound that Xiongjiang is holding single-handedly. And it is Turtle, ultimately, who wins out the fight. DXG will go down, but damage done at what cost for LG Divine with only one player surviving? Was it really worth it? They should have been together a little bit more. They were very spread out, especially to receive a full squadron on the side of Division X. Kale does have a secondary partner on the back of that buggy, so it needs to bring him around. They need to be quick about this one as well, because STK is forcing this fight. They are pushing this one. Both teams going to commit to it? I think they are, with Kale and under here as well. The fight for the compound will unfold. This could be pretty good. This is the time for me, Froz. We've been speaking about Damwon Kia. And we're really hoping they're going to put up a better stance than this.
I was just about to say, whoever gets the high ground is going to have an advantage. And we saw Purdy there getting that high ground, getting that first knock on Xiongjiang. And now Kia, Damwon Kia down to 2 players only. I don't know if they want to keep on taking this fight, but right now they're committed. They have nowhere else to go. They can't back off this. So they got to take it, but they got to find themselves a knocker or it's going to be very bad. Kale goes down as well. And this is bad. Xiongjiang gets back up on his feet, but under goes down as well. And now it's only down to Xiongjiang. Purdy.
Oh. It's the smokes, because the smokes are down. They didn't hear the footsteps. If he at least even gets one, this would have been so good to try and keep it clean for STK. While the 4 frags are there in the elimination, or 3, should I say, it's always devastating to lose an individual, especially someone of Luke's capabilities. So we'll see if that does hurt them in the long run. FaZe, you'd anticipate they kind of go here. The circle, well, we didn't really get too much chance to speak about it, how we had the hook of the mount and the claw that kind of comes around. I would say you'll have 3 pinpoint factors. One of them's now been eliminated, which was power grid. It would have taken all the shifts in the world to kind of get power grid thrown into play, but it was still an option now. It kind of moves back to 2 faces. You have the field, which they are few and far between, or you have these rather important spots, which E36, AAA, and FaZe Clan hold. It's a trifecta. Really good areas. You'll see a little hillside. You'll see a priority compound from E36. We don't see too many endings in. And then the opposing compound, which eventually FaZe should have to come out of. It can cross the road and move to the actual roadside. And that's why we will see someone like Furia hold their ground there. It's very limited cover. So the circle has to be with you. For Furia, you're committed now. That's the final place to kind of go. You have to hope and pray the circle swings your way. Otherwise, you're throwing every smoke down you can at FaZe, trying to block vision and pulling a full 360 up against the circle to get onto the hillside. For everybody else, Froz, they've just got to fight amongst themselves, because I think the Prime Cutter Me here has been basically just taken full claim. There's nowhere else really for anyone else to go. You've just got to play with the circle and fight your way through it.
Well, you got to fight your way, and that's what we saw happening with STK. They crashed up there by the Shanties, taking out Damwon Kia. They both wanted that spot, and that's what you're going to see happening in a game like this when it's so scarce when it comes to compounds to play and where to actually play from. Furia taking that roadside, it's not a good position, but at the same time, they do have the help of FaZe Clan. They have the cover towards FaZe Clan, but also on the backside, they have FaZe Clan helping them. So when you saw DGW actually passing by there, it wasn't just Furia. It was Furia and FaZe Clan shooting at them at the same time. Now, I think that Furia did get a knock or 2, but it was FaZe Clan who got the flush there and got that kill. So it's all good for Furia right now, but it's not a lot gonna happen for them being down there. They're in a very bad spot, especially if they don't get the next circle on top of them as well. It's gonna be very hard to rotate from there. It's so open.
God beat. Straight off Noandra, now straight on to Canaxi. The 4th one running as well at the moment. 4AM is just dispatching Boomerang as they try and just bail on it. Last player's like, nope, don't want anything to do with this. Want to attempt to stay alive, but for how long? ED vehicle is up, it's on its back, it's flipping around, it has absolutely no wheels whatsoever, dragging itself through the mud. I mean, he's kicking and screaming and not going down without a fight, but the next task will be to try and get past E36. I mean, weirdly enough, he's actually in a position that's better than what some of the other teams have done. He isn't moving. That's one thing for sure that we can say at least. STK eventually have to come down. There's still a transitional point between Cody's position inside the circle and Power Grid out towards the back. Malofo decides that his teammate has not been playing ball and wants to run him over. That's not great when you're trying to rotate, fortunately. So it is what it is for now. FaZe attempting to dispatch people across the road. If that one more gets a bit more of a bounce, they're just falling shy of it. But with very little health, it does finally come through. Now they know where the knock is. They should go for the mollies here to try and deny the res, or maybe pick him up while he's cracking on with the res. Remember, if you get that second molly on, the splash damage will expand. It doesn't travel across the floor. It is concrete. There is no wood here. If it was wood, it would travel with the flames, but they can just go for the double splash damage off the mollies when it lands and hits the second one. Does fall short, rather, unfortunately. 4am. A lot of work to do here for us. We have GEX and we have STK directly in front of them. VP if they decide to go that far.
Yeah, remember 4am, they had the north side earlier on Circle 2. They could basically play from wherever they wanted. They opted to go for a northeast side, and now they're outside the circle. They're going to need to rotate in. As you're saying, they're going to be coming in from the east side, and Yan Lee from GX is going to be right there where they're going to rotate past. But then they got K7 and STK as well, just waiting for them. And the circle is pushing them as well, so they got to be quick on this one. They don't have too much time to play around with here.
Oh, Yan Lee gets some damage in, but knocks out Crazy at least in it. Instantly, just cracking response. He's holding the line here, which is fair play. Nade, pin, pull, down we go. Forever, extremely weak in position, needs to run. That blue's also there. Can he get the heal off in time? It's going to be a little bit sketchy and down to the wire, but it doesn't matter because the nade there anyway. Absolute banger. Yan Lee just bangs out 4am. All three of them going down to him single-handedly. So picks up some frag points, but not going to go any further. E36 on the opposing side. Again, with a very slight elevation towards the air. At least gives them the W in that fight in particular. Only one frag point thus far. They've been a bit quiet, but again, they're holding a compound. Will it be fruitful? Will it be adventurous? Probably not, but the circle updating finally does pull it out. And ultimately, FaZe still strongest compound within this. This is an absolute prime position to be holding. AAA E36. All the work in the world to do. And then you've got this wild fight down towards the south that we've not even had opportunity to touch on for us. TSM and TSG going toe-to-toe with the nades.
Looks like they're trading a lot back and forth, but whoever wins this fight is going to be in a good position to rotate up to the north, to the east there from the south side here. So they want to win it, but like right now, everyone's just losing players, and it's not a good win for anyone right now. Looks like Iris might be opting to just back off from this fight. Merrick is still stuck there, and he's going to go down straight away to Peng, actually. Now Peng and Sia, last two standing on TSG as well. Iris going for this. He's committing. He's got to be careful. Sia on his right-hand side here. I don't think he know. But look at this. Volbear is just by Iris well. So he's giving the information right now. Iris does get the flush. But at the same time, looks like he got the information on Sia as well. Does find him. Good shots. Now it's a 1v1 here. Peng versus Iroh. Both looking to get this one. Peng with the nade. Oh, bang on. That's a bang on nade, and there was nothing Iroh could do about that one. It was perfectly good.
Yeah, it just rolls underneath him. Rather unfortunate. Goes down into the 1 versus 1 stalemate, and ultimate TSG will continue. Sylphia backlines. That's a little bit rough for AAAs. They go for the pull-up. I mean, there's no real better way to do this, I don't think. If you send it one way, you die by FaZe. If you send it by another, you die by E36. But E36 has been a little bit clever, or at least Sylphia has. They decided to push out and keep an eye from the backlines on the barn so they can't get a full pull-up here. That's essentially what's caused the problems for AAA. Edie's still alive for Booram. I've just noticed he's still laying on the roadside, waiting for people to actually get to his point of contact, which should be happening rather shortly. For E36, where do you go, though? You have the vehicles, and you're going to be setting up some kind of barricade. Sia decides that it's time to run Peng over for some unknown reason, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, but unrevivable given where the blue is. Halo straight onto Savior. Instant knock, instant flush. Good nade as well. From that angle, it looked perfect.
Yeah. Well, STK, they do have the high ground. I like what E36 did, though. They got that knock on AAA, and then they started to move out, and they keep all 4 alive as well. They got to be careful because I don't think they know about Edie being on the other side of the road of them right now. K7 know that Edie is over there, so they might just wait a little bit, but they're having trouble with STK, and now STK, of course, they see E36 as well. We got the new circle. It's going to go down to southeast. Penta getting that knock. And look at them. They're just trying to farm down there. Penta, of course, he doesn't have any kills yet this game, but STK, they got 6 in total so far, and they're looking to find some more here.
I mean, this circle's been so good for them. They can kind of hold this for now. They do have Sia, who's still the last player alive. I mean, for TSG, he's unfortunately knocked Peng with the vehicle, so they could have had 2 players stable within that. Fuzz, you okay? Okay. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Just a quick reversal. It's the rolling roadblock. We're totally okay with this one. But this is where things get a little bit difficult, right? FaZe have been in this compound for quite some time, but ultimately now they're just held up by the circle. There are 4 players, a full line in front of them. We said earlier on, just that dip across the road. Now, for Furia, it's a matter of sit there and pray and hope the circle comes your way because you can't really rotate out of it. Ultimately, circle has been favorable for them, so they can kind of fall back into a lesser ditch. It does open up the gap and leaves maybe somewhere for FaZe to rotate through and just travel through and use as a bit of a jump start. We do have JN still lingering in the back lines and towards the south, so just be aware of that in case maybe one of the players from Fury gets the full force. Smokes are now being committed, the walls are going up, FaZe are trying to make the hard transition. Fury on the opposing side, Down One Gaming on their left-hand side. This is going to be difficult no matter which way you cut it. So FaZe are going to be made to work for their money. Go Curie. No, he's dead. So just can't get away from that one whatsoever. So many nades. Vehicles just go up in abundance. But it's still, unfortunately, still going to be Fury who hold them off. He can't really do much. They've just kept track of them the entire time.
Yeah, but look at Furia, though. They have Rusty Zero that is still on the backline, so he's being a nuisance to face down here. The others know that, but they can't really do much here. They're trying to help him out. Rusty Zero is actually outside the next circle, and the circle is pushing, so he's got to do something real quick. Facedown still trying to get the way into a good foothold here, where to play from. They did manage to get across the road. They did get all 4 up, but they are very grouped up together, and that's a nade! And he gets 2. 18 Uba going down. Now, we might see, another one. And they're just going down here. FaZe guy is out on 6th place, and that's why it's so bad we group up. Such a good play from Furia. Make sure that they had Rusty Sarah on that flank as well there.
3 players falling back-to-back. Rusty Sarah does the dirty onto FaZe Clan. They don't get a back-to-back win. STK just begins to mop up. You mentioned Penta, LOL, and the lack of frags. Well, now they've started to show themselves. It's Purdy Curdy, though, this time round. At the top of the board for his team. Now, STK, they've kind of been low and slow to this one, just playing edge. But really, what else could you do coming in from that opposing angle? They followed the circle in. It's been quite favorable for this past one. They now have the high ground. It's not going to be the easiest transition given how little hard cover there is working your way down that mountainside. But ultimately, if they keep fragging out pros, there's really no one else to stop them. They can kind of do whatever they want. Fury, again, with that 3-1 nade, you're going to be really happy. It's got a good amount of frags off the back. But the question is, can you withstand the high ground? Are there angles to be able to hide from? Because STK should just have full, clear vision on everything that's happening below them.
They have the high ground. They have the opportunity right there, and they're taking it as well. Currently on 13 kills, and they have almost all the information they need. They know that K7 is in a bad spot. They're trying to figure out where everybody else is. But looking at it, this all came down from the fight we saw between STK and Kia earlier, where they were taking that high ground and playing from there. And this is basically what it gave them after that. And look at this. Shooting fish in a barrel right now. Just being out there in the field. But they got to be careful. Don't overpeak it. Can't forget about the other teams. They're still there as well. Furia trying to set themselves up. They want to be careful as well. Don't want to run into the solos and lose people, because this is a good chance for Furia to do something. but they have to get themselves into better positions here right now, especially playing the low ground. It's going to be rough for them.
Seer is just being a nuisance at the moment. Shots onto multiple different angles, and Furia, they want to try and clean him out as quick as possible. Ooh, you really need that last bullet to hit. But again, follow up with a molly. Should go through the middle. Oh, he just hits cabinets.
You know what? I like what Sia is doing here. He's not playing inside the shack. You put one Molotov inside, you're dead. You're gone. Instead, he's opting to play from outside here. You see that he already put down a few smokes, but he still have 3 more. So he can still keep himself alive for now. And if he just keeps himself alive long enough for Lockstock to actually die first, that's going to be another point on the board for him. Or he might even be able to find himself a kill, a flush, and that's going to be points as well. Right now, he's banging on that SDK. It's going to help him out a little bit. Because when he starts running, it's not easy for Furia to look at him either. Furia is going to see STK before they can get that angle on C as well. And right now we see that C is inside the next circle. Furia is still outside, so they need to move inside. They need to do something about this. STK, they are aware of this. They still have the high ground. And they looks like they have Alo looking for Lockstock as well. But right now, Alo, don't forget about him. Lockstock doing a good work here, trying to work his way up here, slowly but steadily. No reason to rush at all. Plenty of time. Plenty of time. He can just wait for the other teams to try to get a knock maybe on STK before he starts moving in. See that someone on Furia here didn't have a helmet. So that's not too good. You don't want to be helmetless in the end game here.
Oh, okay. Pentalol steals it. A few windy shots from Rusty Zera. Not as good as the grenades previous. C has been a nuisance for quite some time. And again, they need this position that he has. That's the one angle of approach that they've got onto STK. If they can get him out and get him gone, then finally there's somewhere to move. But honestly, Sia has been such a damn nuisance and such an annoyance to Furia's plans. Like, there's nothing else really you can do, and all of a sudden they're down to 2. So STK found themselves at a man advantage, and if they'd have cleaned him earlier on, maybe they'd have had more players. Maybe they'd have had him in better position. Maybe they would have been in better position to be able to receive this fight. Instead, they now find themselves, unfortunately, Furia at the footholds of STK. The Giants are wandering down the mountain, and with 17 frags to boot, they want to continue this one. Rusty Zera falls. Get a bit of a transfer back, but Pentalol should have this bang dead to rights. He has a full angle, taps him in the head. It's GG. And I tell you what, pros, 19 frags? That's a 29-point game, I do. That is a belting stance from STK.
Well, they're showing us why they're one of the best teams, why they're in the top 5 currently. Even though they're down here, this is what you expect from a team like STK. Even bringing in a new player, Pentalol, of course, on the team itself. Penta has been active on the scene, so it's not any news that he's a good player. We all seen him being almost top 4 throughout the whole top 6 throughout the whole PCS, but also doing MPL as well. And now being here with STK, he got himself 4 kills. Of course, Purdy once again top fragging with 8 kills for STK. That is amazing to see that he's being able to IGL, but also being able to top rank time after time after time. Such a great win here from STK.
Yeah, 3rd place in the previous map, and not many frags whatsoever, only 2, but this time it's a complete night and day performance. It is just a phenomenal stance that'll send them flying up the leaderboards. For myself and Froz, that's it for Miramar. We'll pass it back to the analyst desk, who can break down game 2 a little bit more.
Shoot to Kill lives up to their name. 19 kills. That is almost a third of the lobby. So it set up a phenomenal ending for Shoot to Kill. But Cam, you noticed a couple of things in the mid game that really led to the defining moments and where Shoot to Kill got their positioning at. Can you give us a little bit more insight on that?
Yeah, so I quickly mentioned from the previous game how the terrain made it really difficult for a lot of these squads to get a lot of points if you weren't phased, you were just wrapping around everything. This is a sort of the stark contrast in the way that this game played out. It was over towards Monte Nuevo, which we all know is one of the most open areas of Miramar. So many open fields. It's yin and yang to the tall, giant, rough terrain of the south of Miramar that we saw in the previous game. And that meant that a lot of teams had to go for very aggressive 4-on-4 takes compound takes, compound breaches, and even as far as like circle 3, I remember seeing it, maybe even circle 2, but it was SEK that were really just mopping up every other team. It was Kia, I believe, that they wiped out close towards the beginning of the game, and they did not stop from there. Look at Pretty Curdy there with 8 kills by himself. Granted, Alo and Penta up there in damage, but it is just looking hot for these boys.
So that takes us into the
Alo-
later stages of the game. Godspeed. You got to give us a breakdown on that one. Like, Curdy, IGL, 8 kills. How does this happen?
So, okay, we were kind of talking about this a little bit right before the game ended. Kurt, it's actually so crazy for me to see how much Kurt has improved as just a mechanical player. I mean, you can ask Kurt himself; he'll tell you that he was never really like the most impressive fragger back, especially in like the Totality days or even teams before that. But I think the amount of work that Kurt has put in, not only in getting better at making decisions and making calls for the team, but his mechanical ability and actually how strong of a fragger he is now, it's insane. The level that he is playing now is leagues and bounds above what he used to play when I was competing against him. I mean, he's truly a rock star player at this point. I love how far he's come.
Well, this is turning into a 2-horse race quite quickly. High kill counts on the first round for FaZe, then following it up, narrowly topping out the amount of kills for game number 2. Shoot to Kill is going to be number 1 on the leaderboard with 36 points, 29 points, and then Cam, there is a steep decline back over towards Gex in third place with 14, tied up with Interforce, 36.
So this is already, we're seeing the concept of what we've previously historically referred to as point sponges. There's a compounding effect of when a team performs so well, they get as many points as FaZe did in game 1, as many points as STK did in game 2. That only means that there are fewer and fewer points for any other team to really soak up. The one good news is that all the way down in 9th place or even 10th place, they're not that far from 3rd place. What is that? Divine is a good old 6 points away from 3rd place of GPX. So I mean, that's a good thing for them going into this, but trying to chase after 1st and 2nd is already a big climb.
So, I mean, one squad wipe can really shift up the leaderboard. But whenever we're looking through everything and the way it's set up, guys, we're going to have to take a quick break to get everything, give the players time in between the maps to get everything situated. But we will be back in just a few moments, so make sure you stay tuned in.
Want me to gamble, I wanna ya. Climbing and climbing, I humble ya. I'm in my squad, feeling like God, know I'm the greatest, I crumble ya. Made it from the bottom to the top, I did it there. Got these other players terrified and breathing for air. Aiming it, lock it. Shoot. Winner takes it all, taking it all. No one breaking in his mind, what? Are you ready? Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Aim it and lock it, shoot. The winner takes it all, taking it all. Shoot. Aim it and lock it. You know that nobody like me, cause I'm faster and I'm stronger. You can have me, let me guarantee, cause the winner takes it all. You ready?
Here we are at the halfway point for the day, so we're going to be moving our way back over towards Erangel in just 1 second. Cam, when we look at the balance, switching back over from Miramar, which was an extremely heavy phase and shoot to kill time, do you think we might be seeing some changes as now we're bringing in a little bit of map rotation?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have that high of a likelihood of getting repeat kill numbers from the previous two. Miramar, obviously, between the two maps, gives teams more opportunities for a wide berth of kills, considering the sightlines are, on average, a lot wider. You can control your terrain, your point of control in general can be a lot more dominant, a lot more oppressive. Erangel doesn't give you those same opportunities necessarily. This is, of course, on average. You can always find exceptions to the rule between both maps because of their general size. So I think that for FaZe and STK, they're going to be sitting really pretty at the top at the moment, unless, of course, they both have really, really terrible games coming in Erangel. But both of these guys are really good at the map as well. So I don't think this is going to be a switch up where, oh, now it's another team's turn to really make up that difference. I would be shocked if either of these teams bombed out with 0 points these last two games of the night in a row.
Well, we were talking about this towards the start, was since we have some heavy hitters, to say the least, in this bottom 16 this time around, are they going to kind of farm the other teams? And it's looking like there's the potential of that happening. One of the key components that we have to discuss is Godspeed. You've been talking him up for forever. I mean, I make the joke a lot of time that he's the unloved son. Everybody always references Drassel's my son, but, you know, Penta ran the stash just the same. I mean, you've been singing this guy's praises forever. Give us a little bit more about Pentalil, because I know the fans want to hear more about it.
For a long time, yeah. I've had the pleasure of competing against him as well as competing with him for like a Nations Cup type thing. I think Penta is... It's kind of hard to say he's overrated or underrated, I should say. Not overrated, underrated, because a lot of people obviously know how good he is, but I truly think that Penta hasn't really even peaked yet. I think that kid is incredibly talented. I think he's potentially one of the most talented players in North America, and I'm just honestly, I'm kind of torn because I'm really happy to see him get an opportunity to play with an amazing team, like Shoot to Kill, obviously at the expense of Civ. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. And I think Civ is great. I think Civ is great, but I also think Penta is great. And I think that this is a great opportunity for him to finally show what he can do on a really top tier team. And yeah, he's going to frag out. Penta is absolutely going to frag out. I think mechanically he's nuts. He makes good decisions, and I think he's a really good teammate.
A lot of eyes have been drawn back over towards Furia. Not having the best of runs, all considered, but today they are presently sitting in 5th place after managing to get 9th, 3 kills, and 2nd with 4 kills. Cam, whenever we're looking at the firepower in there, we saw the fact that they were trying to accomplish something. Do you think that it's going to be enough? Do you think that maybe we might see more like Triumphant Song Gaming coming out and starting to overstep this, or is Furia finally starting to find a groove?
I mean, it's really hard to say for Furia, because even from the very beginning, they were already very hit or miss. It almost felt like they were trading week by week who was going to pop off. 1 week it was Raspu, 1 week it was Rusty Zera. One thing I will say is that Necro has been the most consistent on the team. He's got the best numbers overall. He's the one that is more likely of the squad to have those kill numbers, to have those damage, to basically lead the pack, as it were. It's just not really, it's just unfortunate for them, because I have to say it, they're not at the level of the rest of the competition here. So they have these really good moments, but they are going to still be at the moment, I think, few and far between.
You guys made a couple of predictions to start this one off. I'll give you some time. We're at the halfway point. I wanted to switch up everything. I mean, Godspeed, you took the easy ones off the get-go, so I'll assume you're not wanting to change anything?
No, I'm okay. I'm okay with my choices. If anything, I again really would love to see Bury Ram, Damwon, attack all around Division X. Like, I really want to see these guys get in the mix because they're just looking like bottom 16 fodder at this point. I mean, these teams have been trapped here and they've struggled to get out, and it would be nice to see them, finally break free of this cycle.
Next game's about to start. Cam, any changes? Go quick.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I chose VP Breweram and GSM, and they are currently sitting at 12th, 13th, and 14th place. It's not last place, but I tried to be clever. I tried to be artsy about it. It's like I said in the very beginning of our session here. STK and FaZe are primed to continue to lead this lobby for the rest of the evening.
Here we go, guys. You can hear the music. Intel, Perrier, Toomey, thank you so much. And also, thank you so much to Bros and Sims. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to you for the action. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Look at that. We're getting a thanks before we start work, Froz. This is a whole new one. You don't know how bad this cast's going to be, Matt, so calm the hell down there, my dude. VP, first one's out of the plane. Froz, so far, I've got to say, we were talking about some teams that are entering the fray for the first time in the bottom 16. Not going too well thus far when we look at, especially on a comparison side, to STK and FaZe. VP, it's not a good start to this bottom 16 run.
You gotta look at everything what VP has been done going into this. They're playing their first international stage like this on a global stage. This is the first time for them. They have a sub player instead of one of the main roster players. All this considered, they've been doing great in the tournament so far. Of course, it's been lacking here in the bottom 16. It's been lacking this week, but at the same time, I wouldn't be too worried, I'd say. I wouldn't be too worried. Erangel is usually a very strong map when it comes to VP. Them being able to flex a lot, we know that they like to basically drop on the four corners of the map. So them being down here on the Bailey Island as well, they are all alone. We'll see what happens with the circle here in a second. It's going to go to the west. But look at it. They're going to have a pretty decent rotation on the West Bridge. I don't think you're going to see a team like Division X Gaming trying to bridge camp that for a team like VP. It's just not worth it. So all things considered, I'm not worried. You shouldn't be worried.
Okay. If Froz isn't worried, I shouldn't be worried. If that's a stature to be living my life by, then that's something that I'm hoping can fare me well going forward. So I'll keep that in mind. If something goes wrong with this house at home, wife's complaining, look, Froz not worried.
Don't be worried.
I'm not worried. Everything.
If I
is
stop
fine. This is
panicking,
fine.
if I stop panicking, that's when you stop panicking. Okay.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna have you on speed dial for more life lessons from Froz. This could fix all my issues going forward. Okay, circle over by the west. A little bit more aggressive compared to the eastern flight path we had, so a lot more teams probably banking on maybe somewhere central map, maybe teetering towards the east, but not. It's going to throw the rotations in abundance. We'll see a few teams going early. At the moment, GEX are getting set up between Gekka and the bottom of the chopsticks, still a little bit lower down towards the ditch side. It's actually probably Furia who have taken the biggest rotation. They're still in a car. They're still heading to North Georgia, Paul. There's a few other places that I would have... Go on.
I kind of respect what they're doing though, because they know how to loot North Georgia. That's their home. So you kind of have your parents there. They know that it's going to be totally free for them to do that as well. Of course, they could have gone for like South Georgia or something like that. Before I cut you off, that's where you were going to go. They could go somewhere else to loot, but it's not too bad, honestly, because they know that place. They know exactly where they want to rotate, how they want to play from after that. And it's just going to feel more comfortable for them. And being comfortable when you're playing, it's such a big deal. If you're comfortable, you're going to hit your shots more often. You're going to everything's just going to go your way, way better.
I think for me, when I look at that, I just initially gravitate towards trying to get us... You're a little bit later than everyone else. We're a couple of minutes into the game where teams have been looting since the start. You're still in a vehicle on transition. Maybe you could have pulled it down to the south, maybe even gone a bit more towards West Town, for example. You're still going to get a decent amount of loot, right? Because of the super settings that when the environment that we're playing within. So, like, for me, if it's the one thing that I don't worry about this, and that's why it's quite a shock when we see someone with a level 1 helmet, like in, ring number 3, for example, like something like that. We're moving to phase 3 and away we go. It's like, oh, you've got level 1s. I'm not entirely sure why. It's quite a drastic shock to me because of the gear settings. But yeah, I suppose it comes down to what you feel most comfortable with, and that is the prime set. You could pull a bit forward. For everyone else, like that's the same question, right? When you see that circle, do we get in a vehicle? Do we bomb out of here? Do we try and get ahead of the game with everyone else? TSG in the back is actually doing that just as a side comment. I've seen them pretty much get in the vehicle straight off the back of farm, take what they've got, get some guns, get some gear, and just get the hell out of there. So there'll be the real first big swing within this map. A few of the teams are now starting to magnetize it a little bit towards a circle. LG Divine's coming out, K7, for example. They're all creeping in the back. Satu has actually sat down because CC's over there. Now, the question is, did CC have any information whatsoever? You can see everyone is moving pretty much plumb center of this circle. And for good reason, I understand why. But we might see a couple of early scuffles here and there for us.
They pulled up silently here on CC. CC's all by himself here as well. The rest of the team is by Gatka, so he doesn't have a clue. I don't think. Wait, actually, Sylphus driving around. Now he knows. Oh, he's baiting. He's baiting it.
It's worked.
There you go. Yeah, easy kill for Pure Boy. I gotta say though, E46 is looking pretty great so far. 2 games, top 5 both games so far. Right now, smack bang in the middle as well in the first circle here. If they can keep themselves alive, they gotta be careful because Diamond Key, as you can see on the minimap, they're just east of them right now. But to pull back a little bit, talking about people going down to where they normally loot as well, is that a big thing also is that you know the teams around you where you loot. You know where they like to rotate, when they rotate, and where they like to play from. So from that aspect, you're not going to get surprised by going past somewhere where you don't think anyone's going to be, or you already know that someone's going to be there. This is kind of a thing you want to know. And that's why you also see a lot of the teams going back to where they normally loot, no matter where their playing path is.
I actually saw 2 level 3 vests there. So one of them comes out of the drop. One of them is already on a player that he's found it on the floor. Helmet upgrade, Grozer upgrade for another player also. Circle. Still stationary. Nothing really much to say about this one. Nothing really to raise a song and dance about for now. For everyone else, it's trying to get yourself in there. Boo around whether the last one's down. The south's looking quite open. So there'll be open paths if they don't want to take any fights. And again, we spoke about everyone kind of congregating in the middle. It's getting a little bit difficult. Damn one, Kia. What is just going on with this roster? Like, we've questioned this in the back to the point that it's actually kind of getting a little bit... I feel like it's a broken record at this point. I don't want to say boring because it just sounds disrespectful. It's not, because there's a want from me to see this team perform. But it's like... I don't know. I don't know how we go from putting them up there as one of the best teams in the world week 1 to not even being in a weekly finals, just looking like nothing throughout this competition thus far. It's so surprising to me given how damn good they were. The silent pull-up comes from Vard. I'll move a different topic altogether. It was, I say silent, his vehicle just smashes and bottoms out on the floor, so he gives away the position anyway, but it doesn't matter given that the player was already dead. FaZe and STK, a bit of a... Actually, FaZe, STK, and 4AM in and around Pachinki. That's... This is all the potential in the world to really kick off sometime soon.
We've seen a lot of circles ending towards this area, so I'm not surprised that all of these teams are banking to go here. We're talking about 3 of the top 5 teams currently in the tournament, and oh god, V caught off guard in the open. That's just unlucky. Now 4AM losing a player early again.
Is this the FaZe dinner bell though? Is that the question?
It could be. You can see that they're clearly trying to get themselves into a position here. They're not giving anything away yet. Gustav, he's just going to wait for the next one probably. He wants to get more people into position to be able to shoot and help him out if he's going to take the shots. They don't want to risk anything because right now, SDK, they don't have the information on FaceClan. FaceClan has the information on SDK. So they just got to wait for the right moment to strike here. unless they're getting seen by anyone from SDK, they can do whatever they want right now. They're just waiting for the right moment.
I'm interested to see if the circle comes here. Like, I know, don't get me wrong, compared to where you see FaZe drop, you'd anticipate them being a little bit late to the party. So I get why Pachinki is somewhere you would aim for. It's a prime city. There's a lot of cover. But like it kind of, to me, if the circle does just swing towards this way and we have Pachinki in around the center for the next circle, it does start to show you how teams do their homework with their coaches, with their analysts, with watching the VOD, with understanding how. And we have mentioned there seems to be this unwritten rule that we all kind of agree with, that per patch the circles tend to have something happens to them. We see slight adjustments here and there, and we know for this competition in particular, the initial one was adjusted. Heal up for now, and Gustav literally will not move a muscle. You can lean and no one can hear you. This is just luring them into the most false sense of security possible for us. It's just it's a trap. It really is. And finally, it's been sprung. Initial contact is made. No one is dropped thus far, but HC does have to turn into abundance and turn into a fight here, potentially. Nades have been cycled, and now contact's been made. Through the porthole, he will get a glimpse of the player lingering at the door. Luke 12, first contact is found. IT goes down, response, spins on a dime, hits him through the gap in the freaking door in the head. That is a belter of a shot. It does a ton of damage, but doesn't quell the thirst for now. Uber strikes back. Gustav will fall. So 2 members of FaZe Clan down. The refrag tries to happen, but the damage is done. A good hold from Uber. I like that. Stand your ground. The overpeak happens. It comes through. STK is silence for now. Booraram's like, you know what? There's shots here, boys. It's maybe time we go and get involved here. Alo goes down. Luke 12 still under the cosh from the grades on his right-hand side. Has to be extremely careful. Fuzzface is just getting stuck in here. He fancies a piece of it, and Luke 12 is dropped. And instantly we move into what I think is currently a 2 versus 2.
Yeah, down to a 2 versus 2 here. But look at it, FaZe, they should have had the upper hand. They should have been going better for them. Right now, Penta is pinned down over there. Lone health, gets the first aid off. But look at Purdy and Penta. They're all grouped up right now. FaZe, they have Fuzz here on the west side, Uba on the east side. They can try to pinch this, but they got to be careful. Burram, they are getting way closer right now. They only have 2 people up here, though. Burram has opted to go for a 2-2 split so far. They're just looking to see if they can find anything. They don't want to really engage this because they don't really have all the information right now. It's a little bit risky for them, and they don't want to risk anything, and I kind of like that from Burram. We know that they can be super aggressive. They can be very good on fragging, but right now they're not doing it. Vard going with that drive-by together with Iro there as well. Getting that kill on Yanli, and that's going to be GX out on 16th place for this game. And looking at it, we didn't speak about Circle either. It did go towards the east, northeast, so kind of expect that, say, from what we've seen so far. The Circle has been tending to go over here a few times. That's also why we were talking about these teams setting themselves up here from the beginning, because they've seen the Circles go over here. But also, if the Circle would go towards the west, for example, they would have good rotation routes, both on the south and the north side, to get themselves into the Circle. But right now, we're seeing a lot of people trying to make their way into the Circle, trying to set themselves up. Furia getting himself a kill here. A good split from Furia. They're trying to take a lot of ground on the northwest side, but what we want to see from Furia is them getting a little bit more kills, just like they're doing here. 1 kill at a time. We've seen what they can do, but from the last game, we saw them playing on that ditch side of the road there. That's not going to get them, that's not going to yield them a lot of kills. It might get them a few placement points, but in the end, you want to see a combination of both placement points and kill points being up there. So, yeah, just waiting to see what they're going to do in this game.
I think it's more information at the moment for Fury up there. They can at least grab themselves a good amount of info to realize the lay of the land in front of them. Speaking of laying, Pentalol's just trying to stay alive up against the determination of Fuzzface here. With the molly down, he may have thought he's done some damage. Could, if he wanted to, actually fall back into the building behind him and go upstairs and use that. You can look through the windows and maybe get a bit of a height advantage this time round. He just caught his shoulder. Okay, so he's using the bus to do the same thing. So same principle. Get above the smoke. Get above the the slight dip and be able to see what goes down. Utility this time committed. Uber's watching the street from the side, and don't forget, while it's going down, Edie is just keeping a full track of what's going on. So STK do bring themselves back at least as a two-man band together, can join forces, but Fuzzface has done the full wrap. This is actually a very good position, but again, every bullet has to count at this point because you'd anticipate a push, go straight through. Levi's falls, rather unfortunate, but for Furia, they've been keeping track of this. I said information needed to be in abundance, and this time it has gone well. They've been able to get the initial frags onto LG Divine, realize we're the last two players who are going to try and make their last stand, or should I say a single last player now with his teammate going down. For JN, it's just try and ruin the days here, be a nuisance and be a pain in the backside. The bait, again, it's happening for a second time round. One player goes forward with the buggy. Instantly attention is drawn, comes round, gets the frag, job done. Thank you very much. Easy point in the bag. But yeah, we're still kind of waiting for this fight to unfold. And it is a larger, it's a pretty damn good fight. You got two heavy-hitting rosters, not only within this bottom 16 compartment, but mainly in the grand scheme of the whole competition. Now, Adra now wants to get into the fold, and you've overstepped the boundaries. Do you realize what you've walked into here? Because if this was me, and I know it was FaZe, and I know it was STK, if they're weakened, fair play, but still, you're going up against two of the best teams in the world. It's, yeah, you're throwing yourself really into the mix here.
Well, Buram is not afraid to take a fight. What I'm afraid of is that Edie only got an M16 as a long-range gun. Nuadra does find Fuzzface in the open air, and now it's down to Uba. I don't think he can go for Fuzz. It's just going to be too risky to go across there. It's going to be really rough. Now, STK, they do... Oh, they got a car. Okay. He's going to go for it. Now, STK, though, what are they going to do? Ooh, this is risky. Now, Uba is thinking, did I make the right choice to go for this? I don't know about that, Nate, though, but at least they're trying.
He was going,
but they got to be careful.
Stairs, wasn't he? He was trying to hit the stairwell window. I think if you, I mean, to be fair, if you don't have that information, you'd assume that Fuzz has potentially got inside. So I respect it. I was wondering why is he throwing it at the side of the house, but he was probably going for the stairs window to try and get him off of the stairs on the res, but still staying up on the feet, which is absolutely fair play to them. Circle.
New circle?
Ooh. All right, Froz. Who dies here?
Well, okay, let's look at this. It's going to be so open right now. We're going to see a lot of teams crashing towards Kia, but also on the eastern chopstick, we're going to see at least, I'd say, one or two teams, if they have the vehicles, to crash down there. So it comes down to Division X Gaming actually being able to hold on to the yellows there, but also VP holding the west side towards this chopstick there. They're going to be on the edge. They don't want to be there. It's going to be rough to get out of there in the next circle. Meanwhile, we still got this fight going on. And Fuzzbay is back up on his feet, but they got to be careful. Ooh, Purdy. He's been having some good shots. We saw him in the last game with 8 kills. Only 450 damage, so averaging 55 damage per kill. Some good steals, you know? Never bad, never bad. But right now, both of them, SDK, FaZe Clan, Buram, 4AM, K7, TSG, all these teams need to make their way into the circle. And it's going to be a rough one. There's so much open field on this one that being late is just going to be bad for you. You might need to just say, all right, we're not going to make it through this. Now's the time to just get as many kill points as possible before it's too late.
Good molly should hit the door. Do damage. Didn't quite see as he moved away from it, but still chomping at the bit for all these rosters. It's just mutual dismemberment, keeping people pinned back, keeping them up against the blue. Savior turns up with very little health. No one's made full acknowledgement of it yet, but certainly with all the vehicles turning up here, we'll see. Detonation Gaming understand the lay of the land, that there is a full team back of the corner. Malofo takes a deeper angle, understandably so. Try and do something. Necro, first one to fall. Spyro finds him. That's the engagement over to completely on the other opposite end of the polar opposite end, in fact, to the western embankment. Bit of a scuffle going back and forth against VP. VP known to enjoy playing the edge, and they can play edge. Kill Demo actually takes out Batulins with the vehicles. That's rather unfortunate. The explosion will cop him. I don't know if he's in a resible position. If VP do, I'm kind of trying to give you the understanding of what's happening towards that VP side. Wobble wobble on the back of the vehicle, and STK's down. Boomerang. Moving into this engagement, clearly starting to pay dividends now in the long term. The fires, the flames, and the absolute mess that is about to unfold beneath our right below foot. Does he get run over? Oh no, he's next to them. Oh, that's an accidental pull-up. Oh, that's so close. We said it's going to be messy, and this very much is. 3 teams moving down towards the yellows with the blue on the outside as well. They're going to be forced out of this one. Everyone is just getting beaten alive. And the problem is that so many people have an eye lying into this. Like Tracer Fire is just illuminating our map feed at the moment. Oh god, it's so messy for us.
This is fallen chaos, and we see that the new circle is going to go towards the west, towards where Division X Gaming and Kia was residing. Now, TSM did make their way into the compound as well, but right now it's rough. It's rough here on the northeastern side. So many teams just stuck here fighting this. Oh, there is no real winner out of this one. Everyone is just losing on this. Everyone's just trying to get as many kills as possible, get as many points as possible. Because looking at the circle, they know there's nothing else to do right now. They gotta do this. This is the only way they're gonna get any points. And this is second to the penultimate game for today.
I'd say E36 are the only real ones benefiting from this, but even them have been slowed on their approach because they've stayed their feet to keep an eye into this one. And by doing so, may have given up valuable land, may have given up valuable time. There's been fights going on in the kill feed. You've seen copious amounts of times between VP and Furia, and that all basically just gets extinguished by DXG. DXG's just been inside of all of this one towards the buildings opposite them and just peppering both rosters back and forth, and a few bolties coming into play as well. And again, if you've got players not been able to move, it'll be a very easy shot. Finally, we do see this position that you've been seeing in the kill feed. You can see there's absolutely nothing really to play with, both of them held up against it. AAA, speaking about being held against, good lord. TSM is going to hold them dead to rights. There is nothing to work with. Xiaolu, it's supposed to go into reverse mode. 4AM also taking a fair amount of damage, hunkering down on the edge of the circle. And really, I get it. Like, this is the lay of the land. This is the way for this circle, right? You've got to play the edge or basically be in a building in the middle. If you're not in the middle now, Froz, it's kind of a GG.
This is the problem as well with the drop-by meta right now. You got to be careful. If you're the first team like E46 here, taking those positions, you got to make sure that you can hold against a drive-by like this, because you know that the teams coming in from outside the circle, they will be doing this. There's no other thing for them to do. Either they'll do this or they'll crash the compound, but they'll most likely find success in doing these kind of drive-bys. That's why you got to be ready for it. E46 lost 3 players there. They're only down to Aminat now, right now, on the northern side there. And he's getting pinched by both Burram and 4AM right now.
I suppose for Burram, it's there's quite a few vehicles stacked up against each other. There's a little bit of hard cover they've managed to create themselves, but the circle has just been super unfavorable to them. Like, all the work in the world been done. Another bolt action in the kill feed. Xiaolu will fall. Long K puts him to rest. That's 4AM gone from the map. 9 teams remaining. 20 individual players alive. DXG having a beautiful little game thus far. Decent compound. Circle's good for it. Flashbang up. Miraku needs a bit of a miracle. All of a sudden, if it's not fire from the front, it's fire from the back. He is getting flooded under. Dispatches him. Job done. 3 players up for down 1 Kia. They will creep forward because the last 2 buildings have been moved outside of the circle. VP. Foot. Oh, I didn't realize where Fuzzface was. He's down in ditches, by the way. The last player there, Rusty Zero, waiting until Hyruzen holds for a second. The second he does, the 762 will be entering his temple unless you just botch it like that. Wobble, wobble. And paid for it. That's a bit unfortunate. That should have been a knock all day long.
Well, was seeing VP and Fury had a long fight there for a long time, and it was a 4 versus 4 in the start. Now VP down to 2 players, and Fury is out. It does let Fury get 1 placement point, but VP, they're outside the circle right now. They need to get inside, and they don't have a lot of ground to work with right now. They do have Division X game in front of them, looking towards them. Gamia finds Aminat, and that's E46 out. First time for him not being in the top 5 for today. Still good effort. Buram, though, they're still outside the circle. They need to make their way inside. And their vehicles is a little bit broken, but they have a crate in front of them as well. Missing a front tire here, so it's going to be rough for them to try to get in.
How are they staying alive? Like, I mean, I'm going to give credit where it's due, Frolls. They jumped into a fight between STK and FaZe. They're now jumping into a fight directly at the building where DXG is holding. What are you? Holy hell! This is chaotic. This is madness. I mean, they've drawn Division X out from their little hidey holes, and it's ultimately give a few other teams maybe chance to reposition and get themselves into a better spot. See, on the opposing side, Gems is just snake in the grass, wandering towards the side of Damwon Kia, but yeah, a bit of a crazy play comes out of Booram. It does cost them 1 player. Noadra's still on the back lines, been able to look into the building. You do have that little dip that runs around it, so there's an ever so slight amount of cover. Oh, Gems. Gonna go for Xiongjian. Is he gonna fall? Should be able to line this one up and then just bang him twice in the side of the head. Tap, tap, bye-bye. If he pauses, that is. It's not often we see too many players holding so much, unless the circle's favorable to you.
No.
Oh, he thought he'd knocked him and he stopped firing. Oh, no, you hate to see it. Holds for a moment. That would have been a frag all day long, and all of a sudden Under just responds and says, you know what, that's how you do it. You shoot my friend, I'll shoot you. Down he goes. Nothing you can really do about that one. He is disconnected from the rest of AAA, but that might be the jump start that AAA needed for us to get into the fight.
Yeah, if they got that knock there, the others would have been able to push in as well, because they would have to focus on 2 different angles, and it would be bad for Damwon Kia. But the Songyang not getting knocked there is, well, that's a big mistake from Gem side. And yeah, they're going to be happy about that, or Kia is going to be happy about that. I mean, Buram, on the other hand, Nuandra has made his way over here to ED as well, so they're both on the hills here, backside. Fuzzface still alive in the chopstick here as well, and he's inside the next circle. Now, again, VP is not, and you can see high roots in there. He's going to be on the outskirts there. He wants to make his way inside the circle. Fuzzface just going to hold there, and right now, I mean, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen in this game. We got to see where the circle will be going. Division X game, of course, still 4 men up, but there's so many teams, still 6 teams up here, and there's so many solos and duos up that it's rough for some of the teams if you have more people alive, like this Division X gaming. Svet goes down to that nade from Under. Good nade. That one was a little bit far. How many nades do you have Under? That is my question.
Well, I
Some
mean,
good
he's getting
damage,
closer,
but
right?
well, he should have gotten them by now. Oh! Cheers, last man up. But they don't know that he's right there. With all those nades, you would think, okay, there's the last one is not right there, or would have gotten him already. They basically using all the.
Oh! I got him. Okay,
Oh.
clips his legs at least. Move out of it, Jenk. It's fine. Move out of it. This is totally fine. We can get another res here. You're going to be okay. But all this time that's been happening for us, it's allowed a few other players to maybe try and reposition them. Noadra now folds into the fight. They're into the fray. They want to get involved in this one in the back. Xiongjian tries to get it up, but unfortunately falls while transitioning. That's really bad. This has gone from just looking okay to all of a sudden Damwon Kia. What? They got caught between a rock and a hard place. The nade off Noadra accidentally clips him and kills him. Damwon Kia, what just happened? Mistakes have been made. And somehow, with 3 players standing, they're just eliminated, Edie. Do you know what's in front of you? Well, my God, poking up and peeking, you do now. Nade will have to go across to try and stop the back push. Try and stop the swell from the left-hand side. If you can find Fergus also, the snake in the grass, the one-man army that is trying to put a stopgap on all of this one. We still have 2 solos that probably will go after one another. That changes everything. What is going on? Edie is just stepping up to the plate. Edie is just pushing teams apart single-handedly.
This is Burram for you. They just take people out one by one right now. It's a 2 versus 1 versus 1. And look at this. Hirusen and Fuzzface is going to be fighting each other. Burram is loving this. They know that they can just sweep this up afterwards. Both of them really low right now. He's going to take who out.
What? I didn't even... 1-2, bing, bing. It's as simple as that. They just tap up. It happened so quick. We didn't even know it was about to end. He just planks around and just says 1-2, thank you, job done, and that's it. How has Booraram, like, on the outskirts, with the circle completely against them, with a hard pull-up that left them in a transition with 2 players standing, somehow won that?
They shouldn't have been able to win that. They shouldn't have been able to win that at all. But remember when they were out there in the field, first of all, how they did the drive-bys on E46 to take the field position, and then working their way in with a broken vehicle. They had to lose 1 player, but Eden made his way into the hills there, and then Noadra came in behind him, and from there they just picked teams apart. And this is the Burram way, right? We know that they're really good on fighting, but them being able to get themselves 18 kill win. Today we had what, 14 kill win, 19 kill win, 18 kill win. This is just amazing to see from the winning teams. But that's it for us for now. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, so I'm saying we didn't really get a chance to emphasize how much of a win that was towards the end, because it all just unspiraled so quickly. Just kind of sorry cut you off there, Frost, but yeah, we'll pass it back to Des to break it down. But ultimately, that was an unexpected win, but a big and good, solid win, regardless, nevertheless.
Thank you guys. Burram with a massive victory there, stacking up a ton of kills and making the victory look easy. We saw VP at FaZe trying to get a little 1v1 off the side, and they're like, no, all kills belong to us at this point. Just taps them both down, just back to back like that one. Guys, where do you even want to start? We had weird circles, we had the SDK FaZe fight, we had... I don't know, just Burram doing Burram things.
I think we can kind of point on to what Froz and Sims were saying was how that even happened. Is the fact that Burram was probably in one of the worst positions on that circle, arguably, when they were outside of it. And DXG not only kind of gave up to them, but also we saw Damwon Kia. I mean, Clint was Paper Thin was in voice, so he was not happy about the Damwon Kia plays coming out of that compound. So yeah, regardless, don't get me wrong, Burram played that really well. They fragged out. I mean, 18 kills is no joke, but yeah, that was a really interesting end game, Kemi and Matt. I don't really know what to say about it.
All right, well, Cam, this is where you kick off and where you want to throw down inside of it. You can see kills kind of scattered all through there, but I mean, it was a definite uphill battle for Burram, and we talked about this. The clutch potential from this squad, it isn't always consistent, but boy, when it happens, it happens.
Yeah, obviously whenever the first circle goes towards Gatka, towards the center, there's a lot of fields around that area. There's always going to be a big threat of the field ending, but then it just kept sort of shifting mid to west. It's like, oh, okay, I guess we really are ending up in here, but not just in a field. We're ending in a field that has compounds in the middle of it. That's just highlighting the fact that Burram should not have won that game, but this is the reason. I'm a Fairweather fan. I have no shame of admitting it. I am back on the fandom for Burram Esports. Again, this is exactly why I've been so excited to watch them this whole event. It could be a little hit or miss at times. admittedly a lot of misses. But when they pull off stunts like this, winning a game that on paper they should not have been able to win in the first place. I mean, Kia should have really had an opportunity to take over that game. But as I think Godspeed just mentioned, their exit from that compound a little early sort of threw that opportunity away from them. But Buram, they were having to run zigzag all over the open field to even find the positioning to get all these kills. But if you can click those heads, if you can find those kills, then that is just amazing PUBG gameplay.
I just get a kick out of the fact that I'm getting this mental image with the way that Cam keeps bouncing back and forth between these 4 teams, that he's got like 4 jerseys just back behind him. And after every single game just goes back and switches on to one. It's like, I'm back on the Buram train this time around. We'll have to see how it goes through. So, schedule so far, you can see that FaZe, STK, and Buram are racking them up so far with high kill game wins every single time for all of our rounds so far. We still have one more to go that's going to be happening in just a few minutes. Remember, guys, whenever we're looking at the bottom teams, there's only 8 rounds, so we're going to be halfway through with it. And I know we've been talking about it, and Godspeed, I'd love to just circle back in with this and the importance specifically of this bottom 16 fight out and how it sets up not just next week, but even the final week where all the money hits in.
Yeah, this is incredibly important simply because of the massive increase in the prize pool for the next weekly fight. I mean, we obviously still have the weekly finals coming up after this, but it's really the next week and then the final week that are going to set up any of these teams who win those to be absolutely comfortable, if not looking to win. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the $500,000 final week prize pool. I believe it's $300,000 for the next week after this one. And so you want to absolutely be that team first in line to make sure that you get the most chances to win that chicken dinner. FaZe, obviously, and STK are the 2 biggest examples of teams that do not want the same repeat issue from the last week happening again, where they play incredibly consistently, but they can't get the W.
Well, getting W's with high kill counts has been the theme of the day so far. Gotta look back over through the notes real fast, and what it's been 14 kill victory, 19 kill victory, and an 18 kill victory. I don't know what's going on with this Froz and Sims combo that is just dropping action upon action every single round, but I'm hoping that we're going to go ahead and follow it up with this last one that's going to be happening in just a few minutes. It's like everything's starting to happen with this stage, getting everything situated. Big shout out yet again to our sponsors. Thank you so much to Intel, Perrier, and Toomey. Guys, we have one more round set and going. You go ahead and throw it over to our in-game casters. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, we're moving into our final map of today. When it's all said and done, we'll see the lay of the land, at least for half of this competition for the bottom 16 matches and where we'll be setting up shop for tomorrow. Instantly, when I look at this playing path, Froz, I think, is that a milli-circle lurking in the distance?
Yes, indeed. I hope we will get that. It's gonna be interesting if we do get it. But look at it. All the teams, of course, they're gonna try to reside towards the south side of the map because of that. And we see, of course, with that south of plane, it's gonna be rough for some of the teams. But looks like we have some teams like Furia. We talked about in the last game how they still went for North George, even though the playing path was far from it. And looks like they're gonna do the same thing once again. VP, though, them going down here to a military to just, you know, get themselves some good loot. Normally, we would see them by Novo. There we go. That's the circle. And it's going to be a 50-50 to start things off. And it's going to be a fun one, I'd say. A fun one to end the day with, because this is one of the roughest circles for the teams. It's not totally certain where it's going to be going. You have no clue what the teams will be doing. And how are you going to set yourself up for this? That's a big question right now. Look at it. LG Divine, they're going to try to take Crossroads. They're going to try to take Novo. But they want to be careful as well. They don't know what other teams will be doing. You might see some teams trying to take a boat later on as well. Buram has done that a few times from the eastern side. Normally a little bit from more towards the Lipovka side where they take the boat. But this time, them being down there by Milta Power, we'll see what happens. FaZe already on the roll here. Are they going to take a boat? No, that wouldn't be a good idea. Yeah.
Just to avoid the tower for now, I think. But when I look at this, yes. Breakfast, hunger. The caffeine is just beginning to creep in after my 97th coffee. So now we're actually going to get a bit of action. With a early circle, we always anticipate a little bit of a few scuffles here and there, some early game rotation, some early game action. The question is on my mind, one, the TSG try and fortify this bridge a little bit more, try and lock it down for some free frags that come flying their way. Two, do DXG on the opposing bridge do the exact same, because they dropped in and around the petrol station, so they have an opportunity to maybe garner a few points, free frag points, so to speak, off the back of a few people trying to rotate through J-End. Oh, no. Okay, well, I'll hold the trigger for now. If we know FaZe, they'll check Nova, maybe re-loot towards Nova if the gear hasn't been good. They'll should see signs of looting, I would anticipate, with someone of FaZe's stature. You'll get some sort of info with a shot being fired. I have to anticipate that contact has been noted, or presence at least has been made aware.
No matter what, they should know that this is where VP would normally loot. So they should be expecting a team here. That's why I'm quite surprised that they just bombed it straight in. Normally, I'd say you'd see FaZe go more towards the south side, even though it wouldn't be favorable for this circle since it's a 50-50. But we also saw that TSG has made it through across the bridge as well. And right here on the western bridge, we see that Division X Gaming and K7 trying to make their way across as well. Oh.
Please do it. Please do it. Please do it. Out of the vehicle. Please. Please. This is everything I want. Please. Just shoot him. Straight in the vehicle. Go on. Do it. I believe. I believe in the bolt action on a bridge. Come on. It's the final game. The coffee's starting to kick in. Give me something to scream and yell about. Do it. Do it. Do it. The 3 times on the back as well, I'm a big fan of. I think it's pretty... It feels comfortable when you're sniping with that thing, especially on some of these bolties. Again, you're always going to want to get as much scope as you can. Not a big 8 times, but I'll take a 6 all day long. But certainly, I think 3, 4, 6, you've got pretty... I feel much more confident. Not a big fan of the 4, personally. Everyone will probably disagree with me on that one, but I just like the 3 reticle. It feels a lot smoother to be working with, but they won't this time opt to overstay their welcome. Totally fine with that. It'd be nice to see some sort of a montage kill coming through, but here we are. K7 should be able to get off of that bridge rather freely. I would suggest, or at least in my mind, it suggests that they do it quickly, sooner rather than later, because a few other teams should be coming the way of the bridge also. There's options for E36 and Furia all the way up towards Georgia Paul, maybe to get boats and just boat it in, swim it in. Or you could just full blown down one gear and just yeet it off the cliff in a vehicle. I mean, it saves a bit of time.
I don't know. AAA might have seen this, and that won't be good because all they got right now is Song Yang just holding this with a motion.
There's a car flying. Quick, come look.
I mean, they also got Svit on the other side as well, AAA. And look at this. Looks like they're going to go for the boat. They saw it happen. They want to get there before them, I guess. Or are they not aware?
Down one gear still got a bit of time to go in the water. It would come down to... Oh, wait. He's made note of this. Go on. Please. He's going to go for the AR. Okay, he's going to go for the spray, but shots are going to come back his way, so please hit one of them out of the water. Please do it. Come on. I believe. Do it.
I'm actually surprised how Song Yang is keeping them away from the team. And look at this. Damokia is actually going to make it to the beach because of that. Because Song Yang was shooting at them, they went far east instead towards Svit because they knew that Svit was over there. They knew that that was safe and they could land with the boat over there. So they went for that. And, well, Damokia, they made it past to the other side. Now, it would be quite funny if the circle went back to the north, But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. We see that K7, they made their way through as well on the western side. We still have a lot of teams on the north side there. Furia, E36, TSM, DGW. All these teams are still over there. They haven't made their way into the circle, and there's no stress for them. They know that they're late already. They're not going to get the prime position, so might as well take your time, take it slow, and make sure that you don't make any mistakes on the rotation here.
I mean, we didn't get the knock out the back of the boat or anything from Xiongxiang's side, but it doesn't matter. He did enough work to allow his teammates to actually make it to landfall safely. Same cannot be said for AAA. As soon as they make it to landfall, they have TSG to deal with. So their first victim of the game at 7 minutes 40 will fall. Now they might be able to turn their attention. Maybe they've understand the lay of the land here, that they will draw the attention of Damwon Kia. Yeah, he's just clipped for him. Absolutely positive, certain, sure, and that's why he's leaning on the side, just waiting for the approach, trying to catch that audible cue to give him the info of where someone else will be peeking up. But if they dual peek him, there's nothing really he can do. I think that's good. We're one down first. I kind of anticipate him bailing on that a little bit more, especially with his teammates not being with him. Maybe running back down towards them. Under confirms it with an A. It's a little bit disappointing. I was hoping some more out of that. It could have been a pretty nice little fight back and forth. Just as a note, you don't see it on map, but a couple of things that are happening off screen. 4EM and STK have each other held at the bridge. Now, for STK, it's do we decide, and this is over on the eastern bridge, do we opt to go to the west? Now, on the west, it's a bit of a problem of itself because we've got E36, TSM, Furia all left to try and cross the bridge. And there isn't enough room to let all three through, so I don't know how this is going to unfold. And I'm hoping the observers have been pretty damn good this entire event, and I'm sure they're watching at the back, but if someone does, that fight does come to a head, I'd love to be able to jump on board with it. I'm sorry, I'm also forgetting, and just notice it now as well, Detonation Gaming have just turned up to the same fray that STK and 4EM are in. It's still pretty messy towards the northern side is what I'm trying to lay out here. So even though we're focusing at the moment on Sosnovka, there is still a lot of teams that have got to get across those bridges. It's a bit of a funnel neck.
7 teams on the north side still, and that's why we call it a 50-50, because some teams are still banking on it going back to the north, and we don't know yet. We're still in Circle 1, in Phase 1 there, but most of the teams, they have set themselves up for where they like to play this kind of circle from, how they like to approach it. We do know that AAA lost 2 players, sadly, already. It looked better from the start, but it wasn't good enough. Now, are they going to lose another one? TSG just trying to find himself another one. We're gonna get a new circle coming in, and let's see. Okay, well, it's most likely gonna go to the south, but I'm not gonna say anything because the circles in PGI.S so far has been rough on the players, and we've seen so many hardships, and it is still possible to go to the north, but it's very, very, very unlikely looking at how the circle popped up here. But you got to remember, we're not having land ratio on this one yet. Ooh, crazy.
He knocked him out of the boat. He armed him out of the boat, I think.
I missed that.
I'm pretty certain he armed him out of the boat because it was an arm kill, unless they've got 2. That was an arm out of the back of the boat. Because he died in the water. I mean, it's a quick way to go, but he must have just waited because he was very much up against the coastline, so he must have just waited. You get that with the boats, you have the initial pause. It is a bit of a nuisance where you just put the foot down, then they're slow. You see it a few times, like in a few games where boats they get the turn and the wide turn goes, and it's like, well, you've beached that, and there's nothing you can do about it now. But yeah, he must have just waited until they got themselves in the boat, hit the pedal to the metal, and then banged him out the back of it. So that's something we need to be aware of, that 4EM are lurking. They do have a silenced AWM, so that's kind of a scary prospect. This circle plays to their advantage in the fact that they can now keep that bridge clear. It's still, to be able to camp this bridge, it's quite difficult. With LG Divine, you've got a bit of time when you get off the bridge. Not too much, because there are a couple of walls of those buildings that they are holding, and you have a good elevation towards the level 3 or the 3-story, tier 3, whichever way you want to call it, building. GX, however, creeping on the hillside. Peekaboo, thank you. Oyo steps out, and unfortunately steps back down. Lock, time to go. This will be the time to engage the rest of the team. If they want to get involved in the fight, they have to go now. GX, King of the Mountain. But they have underestimated the third-party potential. It's quite a barren area, this, Frost, when you go more towards the north of this kind of plateau, so they have to be very aware and Unfortunately, by not, Down 1K will take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, and we got so many teams on the south side. You got to be super careful. There's going to be so many third parties happening in this one and the upcoming circles. Everyone trying to set themselves up. Look at a team like TSG, for example. They got a big 2-2 split going on right now, and they have 2 teams in between this 2-2 split. And that's going to be rough because then you can't help each other out. TSM, they're going to go for a late rotation in the blue here, hoping that no one is going to be camping this bridge, but we do see that Fury is waiting on the other side, and oh no, this is not looking good for TSM. They were having a good thought about this, and it was looking good, but Furia, they read him like a book. Look at this.
Have they left?
This is a
They
death
left
trap.
the vehicle there. If they left the vehicle there to try and bait them into grabbing another vehicle and maybe make them stall, doesn't matter. They turn into the trap. Oh no, this is so bad. There's been a response though. Wookie Bookie instantly falls victim to the blue. Iris, he's blinking, bleeding at the wayside also. I mean, I'm hoping he's got stims on and out of the frying pan into the fire. Like, it's not good for TSM. There's really no nice way to put this. Coming across that lane has cost them dearly. It's going to cost them time. It's cost them a player. Xianyang will fall. CSC and him, the TSG fight pretty much center of this circle. Still got a fair amount of water in place. It cuts off, I would say, maybe 30% of playable terrain on this circle. But again, moving into phase 4 for us, it has a huge, huge impact because we pretty much know now where this circle will go and it'll try and center up. FaZe, however, I've just run into VP, or at least one player anyway.
Yeah, look at VP is playing from Pharmacy, so they shouldn't have been over there. But a lot of killing going on right now. Everyone trying to bank their way into the circle. Furia, I don't know how they didn't get more from TSM there. They should have wiped out TSM. If you're going to do that kind of thing, you got to make sure you wipe them out. If not, it's not worth it. Now, TSM, we see them on the north side here, passing AAA. Luckily, AAA is only down to 2 people. As we know, they were weakened already from earlier, so it's going to be easy for TSM here to get themselves into a better position to play from. And meanwhile, we still have some teams on the north side. Oh my god, Miracle! Now it's only Janky left, and TSM should notice. They should have kept an eye on the kill feed and know it's only 1 person left on AAA, and they might just push this and try to take this position from them then.
Leave Ira outside to see if any movement happens, but get the 2 vehicles now and just send them to the walls. Send them to the building, let them crack on with it. Try and lure out this last player and get his information, so Ira will kind of sit back on that one single-handedly. Fury has been... Wait, Janku just got 2 of them? How did Miracle fall into the kill feed? What in the world just happened? How has this happened? Oh, no, 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 no. Don't miss any lethal utility you're going to throw their way, because all of a sudden Ira has the weight of the world on his shoulders. Every single piece of utility is being committed to try and resuscitate at least 1 player, get something back from this. He just clutched the hell out of the situation, so they brought the vehicles to him, and they must have thought, Froz, that he... Wait, he's going out the back of this. They have no idea. He's hiding himself so well. They must have assumed that he was in the same building as the previous player and not had that info, because there's no way you would crash simultaneously into the same building that he's in. You just wouldn't do it. They clearly didn't have the info. They clearly crashed. I mean, again, I'm surprised they've taken both the similar approach to it, and rather than going 2 ends of the compound. But that's the one place. Ira's job was there to try and stop him from moving, see if they could bait him. But unfortunately, they just didn't realize he was in one building, and they hit that wrong one. So it's
oh no,
yeah. What do we? I don't know. It's kind of wild to see that happen in a kill feed and just think they look good, and now it's been taken away from them.
Yeah, they made it into the circle, but that should not happen at all. But look at this Penta, just shooting fish in a barrel, more or less. Well, DGW is kind of fishes in the water right now, and Penta has no problem. He's just going to take his time. There's no rush at all. They know that DGW needs to swim across. The only play they had on the other side, Gokura, is already knocked as well. So DGW has nothing to do here. They might even just deny themselves in the water here. STK is not going to let them get it onto the island. And, I mean, STK already moved in as well, taking a position. Meanwhile, we see here, 4 a.m. Oh.
Shots in abundance, 4 a.m. Instantly just dispatched by Division X Gaming. It's job done on that. So, oh my god, he's got Ira as well. There's no way you're going to get them all. But he's done so much damage to TSM. That's kind of devastating for them. Like, that should have been really clean, but unfortunately a misread in the whole situation has cost them 2 individual players. Kind of feel bad for them. I thought that would have been super easy. Yeah, that's me in shock. We will focus more towards this one with Booraram, GX, and K7. So at the moment, it looks like Kanax is the only last player standing here for Booraram, with Xenan directly in front of him. You can catch him in the back foot, having a bit of a transition down to sub 50% HP. Nade low-balled over to the left-hand side. Really good read off Kanax. Try and force him to the right. Nade goes off. It wasn't pin-pulled. Bit of a slow tap away. Xenan will be able to get his health back. Lockslock back on his feet now. Xavier comes in, stands up to the name. And then from a distance, you will see a different knock, different fight, different time, place, everything. And the kill feed at the moment is just littered with SLRs. And that's because fights are in abundance. E36 is getting peppered by STK from the coastline on the bridge. TSM and Detonation Gaming White are also moving toward STK, so that's be some easy frags in the bag eventually. When they come into fight, Vard, nowhere really to go, and we'll probably run into TSG, so keep an eye on the kill feed for that one. If not, it'll be SDK who finishes him. And who else have we got? It's still Xavier, VP, GEX versus Down 1 Kia. Basically, teams just playing edge at the moment. It's very messy.
This is the problem. When you come in super late and you don't try to commit for something straight away, you're going to get caught out like this. You're just going to get held out by the other teams. And, well, not much else to do. He's just trying to kill him to be able to get those meds as quick as possible, trying to get a few more placements here, because it's still possible to get 1 placement point for them, maybe even 2, if Sato can keep himself alive long enough with those meds. And we do know that there is still some solos around. K7, Xavier, one of the solos here. He's getting pushed by Kia as well. Well, there you go. That's going to be 1 placement point at least for E36, because Satel was able to heal out there.
Yeah, I love how you kind of clarified that, because in my mind, I'm like, why didn't he get back on his feet? Why didn't he deny the point instead of killing him? But I suppose rather than him chucking bits on the floor and being individual, he can just get the body back, get the meds, and now continue forward. And by putting up a survival stance, he's going to pick up more points than what he gives away by taking out his teammate and giving the point to a different team. Actually, no, thinking about it now, it wasn't. It was a knock from the blue. Excuse me, because it was so close. So it was so it doesn't. So I stand completely correct. It was so close. It was actually the blue that did knock him. So in my mind, different question altogether. So no point giving away whatsoever. Gets the meds, and like you say, it's now kind of vital to try and hold on and see how many points you can garner by placement. It's at least done its job to get 1. We'll see how much further it goes. This fight's an interesting one. With VP and Damwon Kia. Hyruzen is away from the rest of the roster. So it's a 3 versus 2 if we look at VP split. Hyruzen will be moving a vehicle back just to try and give them something which helps for mobility for a transition. FaZe have come down from the radio tower. They'll be playing outskirts between the current top plateau just to keep a track of that hillside. Thankfully, STK doesn't have a fold into them, and that's just because they are held back by LG Divine's position. First contact made, second one instantly. VP have responded so damn well. They've spotted Damwon Kia, and they'd have shutted this down instantly.
And they were totally prepared for this. They're also in a better position to move into the circle. So they don't even need to finish off this fight. They can just move their way into circle and hold Damwon Kia out from there. But no, they're just going to finish off right there, right now. And that's Damwon Kia out on 7th place for this game. VP is still 3-man strong. And they got lots of room here to make their way in. They still have the vehicles. They got to be careful. They do have face stand on their east side or southeast there. And as we can see, we still have 6 teams. Most of them, well, all of them are either 4 or 3 players up as well. This is going to be some good fights that will be happening very soon here.
It's a moment pause. A bit of breathing room, especially towards that center circle. FaZe with the most room in the world. VP is wandering their way slowly. Might see something unfold, but thankfully for Fuzzfest, Gustav, and Uber, they do have a hillside that just rolls down. You can hit the defilade and obscure the cell from vision instantly. Heightsy's job is still to try and maintain that eastern embankment that he's watching. And again, nothing too strenuous should happen just because STK is held back by LG Divine. They've got a compound, so they're not going to want to move from that. Circle could change everything, and it's probably more the teams in the west I'm concerned of. Hits towards the north, so Fair's forced to move. Again, LG Divine will kind of stay their feet for now. VP, the most work to do, because we can anticipate here that FaZe clan maybe just runs circle and tries to get in front of them and then essentially gatekeep on arrival. TSG bin gatekeep themselves, or gatekept, should I say, excuse me. Words are hard this morning. GXG directly in front of them. It's going to be quite hard to try and maintain the position. They will have to move forward. There's nothing else they can really do about it. Slow aside towards the circle, but if they go too much high and try and wrap on DXG, then STK, who's in a 2-2 split, will haphazardly deal with that. VP's just been tagged slowly but surely, having health removed as they try and wander forward, and now it's time for FaZe to make their move. They're wandering ever so closer to VP to try and funnel them into a fight, but this is a domino effect for us. We have 4 teams up towards that northwestern side. For every time VP gets closer, the domino trickles a little bit further down.
Don't forget about FaZe, and they are moving in on this as well, coming in from the south side. Long K gets a few nade kills there, but this is all gonna go south for all of these teams, because if you look at FaZe, and they're just creeping up on this right now. They're creeping on VP. VP is creeping up on Division X Gaming and TSG, and then you have STK on the north side. Everything is going down over here. Meanwhile, STK is just taking a chill. LG Divine as well. That's gonna be TSG out on 6th place. VP finding himself a few kills, but now it's when Division X Gaming and FaceTime will strike towards them as well.
I'd see spy rope down, Molly over. Burning at the wayside, and 4 teams just clashing head-to-head here. Fuzzface comes in with the final clean-up. Pyruzen will fall, VP gone. Now they need to turn their attention to Fergus. He's not the last man standing, but he was in a weakened position. Long K next to him as well, so they have the hard cover at least. It's something. But look at 8C's utility. Molly, 2 nades. So the lethal utility is in abundance. Fuzzface says, you know what? We'll put it dead to rights and make full use of it. Long K will fall. Fergus now left to try and stand. Vehicle almost crushes him to death. And now his hard cover is being moved out of place. Alo, pin is pulled, nade is over. 2 players caught out in the open. With a headshot as well, it puts Jand into resuscitation mode. We'll have to go back and put himself out of the fight for now to get the res off. There is a nade on the left-hand side. That's from a different angle altogether. Long K finally falls and he's gone. Alo comes in, or Alo goes out, excuse me, other way around. It's Jun who sees him and will dispatch him with a molly. Knock and a flush, it's job done, so they can now focus on Purdy Curdy, who is potentially just disconnected from the rest of his team because the rest of the team are dealing with fights across the board. In fact, it's a 3-man split. Understandably so, trying to grasp on what's happening across this map because we've still got fights on multiple different angles. LG Divine barely having to kind of move that far. Circle's been extremely favorable to them. Pentalod just sees the door closed. Like, well, at least I know where you are now. Information has been made. The question is, who do LG Divine set up shop to take on? Who's going to be their main problem? FaZe will have a little bit of plateau cover, a little bit of land to work with, but not too much. Everyone has to get close to LG Divine, but for LG Divine, it's okay having this time. It's okay having these houses. It's how split, how distracted will you be? The hard cover's with them, but ultimately the map presence is not. You can't really set up a good defensive stance on this.
Alo Purdy should have been with Alo earlier there. Now, they were a little bit split. LG Divine did a good push, though, pushing out from the compound, something that SK wasn't maybe expecting. And because of that, they got themselves their first kill. They're still looking for my strong, of course. Luke finding Fergus. That's going to be Division X Gaming out on 4th place here in the last game. And we're going to come down here to a 4 versus 3 versus 4. And 8 getting himself the best gun in the game with some level 3 gear. You couldn't be asking for better stuff to work with here towards the end. But look at this. Luke is going for a wrap around as well. He's going to try to flank on FaZe Clan while they are fighting towards LG Divine. It's just kind of unexpected, I'd say, to see what they're doing here. And Purdy is gonna crash towards that shack. Oh, Luke finds one.
No. Yeah, I think that's unfortunately for Gustav a little bit of tunnel vision. Standing still, it's not something we're used to seeing, especially from players up at this upper echelon. Gets caught off guard, and he will fall. He'll be punished for it for now. Pentalol trying to stay alive behind a tree, but again, we said LG Divine, it was going to be a very hard tin to crack, but they are spread, so if you can catch one of these players off and get the knock, or the one comes in for the revive, then it's something. But as the two sleeping giants at the top of the board wander slowly into each other's loving embrace, ultimately we'll put Uber in a position to maybe get a nade off onto Luke 12 and call it a day. There he goes. Instantly tries to wander off and see if he can somehow just deny the kill and get a bit more information. I suppose that's Luke's only thing he really can do. Try and garner info for Pentalol. He smokes on his right-hand side, at least to block that for now, so he can try and do something. Nade in from Fuzzface. Flashbang. It's good. It's allowed him to get to the walls. This is what we said we needed to see out of FaZe Clan. If he can somehow just move this vehicle or get the grab on the ledge, he would have the rooftops to work with, but by doing so, by not making it, it's cost him dearly with his life. And now this throws FaZe into a position where they have to move on this one with a big bang comes out from Itzy. Look at that, just sprays it in with the Mark 14. It's job done for now. They can move forward and maybe make something happen. J-End is out of it. That was a banger of a shot, but we know how powerful that gun can be. It can be a real lethal piece of utility. When put to good use, it puts one down and gives FaZe now a little bit of a moment's respite.
Only one first aid left on Itzy. He does get the flush on Jan, and now 2 versus 3. Is FaZe Clan gonna get themselves a second win here today? They do have 2 different angles to play with here, but you also gotta look at LG Divine. They have Turtle on the western side or the northwestern side by the shack. It's barely inside, and Turtle, we do know that if this circle just keeps on going, which it will do because the next one will just go to the center, Turtle needs to move. Oh, it looks like he's gonna go for a vehicle, trying to get himself into a better position. And this is going to be rough for FaZe Clan right now. They need to find a knock straight away. Levi's playing that. Rooftop is such a good play as well. Make sure that he has a little bit more of a high ground to play with. And he knows exactly where the last 2 players are. So that makes it very good for him. He just got to make sure he doesn't get knocked. As you can see, he's not full HP. One headshot from Mateys, the Mark 14 would do it. That would get him knocked. And it would be bad for them. Uba making his way in with that vehicle right now. So has a few more smokes, 3 more after that. Need to get a few good tags, but gotta be careful here. Levi's still on that rooftop. No boosts from look of it from him. So 1 headshot again will do it for them.
I mean, for Uber, he could just go for the full-blown Hail Mary. He's building this bridge of smoke towards the house. Could just go for the full send in the vehicle. It's a zealous play, but I suppose desperate times call for desperate measures. He backs off for all but a second to just try and get as Itzy does, a hint of information from above the smokes. With no smokes left, he's just waiting for them, and I think ultimately we are just counting down the times for FaZe Clan to fall. LG Divine seal our final match of today with a win and garner some much needed points. Gives them a few jumps on the leaderboard, but ultimately I think today the story for me, at least, Froz, it's been STK and FaZe Clan. Like, their consistency through the last 4 maps that we've seen, I think what 3 out of 4 games they've been top 4, top 3. It's been fantastic to watch.
And it's kind of the story of what we saw them do in the weekly survival as well. The only thing was that they weren't able to get that closing down the game, get himself that chicken dinner. But today, both SDK, FaZe Clan has played phenomenally well. We saw, of course, Buram getting himself that 3rd win, and here in the last game, LG Divine with a good hold. They got the circles, but they had a good hold. And remember how they were pushing out on Alo there. Make sure that they got him, weakened them, and then went back into the compound. That's the kind of stuff you want to see from a team when they're holding it down. Not just sitting there, just looking around them, waiting for someone to strike. You're the one in control, and they had that in control the whole time looking at it.
Good circle at the end, has to be said, for LG Divine, which is fair play, but they still fought it off. There was a lot of different fights on different fronts, so they had to defend it well. But ultimately, a good set of matches for today. That's it from myself and Froz. That's 4 over and done with. It sets us up nicely for tomorrow. STK at the top, I think, with FaZe Clan in second. But again, we anticipated that with the consistency. But now, I'm going to pass it back to the Des team to close it down and round out today's. Gentlemen, enjoy.
See, Froz, Sims, this is why I thanked you going in. I knew it was going to be good. You guys absolutely killed it today. Phenomenal set of games coming in. A surprise winner towards it, but once you saw the couple of circles moving into it, it looked like Divine had a nice, strong position to play. But it all comes down to military-based circles. Godspeed. How do you handle getting a late game position like that and having to play around that territory in military base?
Well, good decisions in the start of the early game, especially when you see the circle pop go towards Millie. We saw a few teams did that. Obviously, LG Divine was one of them. STK actually had a really nice position set up on the north side of Sosnovska when they were basically farming the Japanese teams coming out late. And then we also saw that really crazy fight with TSM where they actually ended up losing almost all of their members, I think minus Vard. So that was a really wild game. But then that end game, actually, Cam, you and I were talking about that end game. That end game was pretty wild. LG Divine had a really good setup, but FaZe potentially could have won them.
They could. It was that vault that Fuzzface tried to make on top of the building that would have given them a position to potentially crack open that approach onto Divine, especially because they got that first knock against one of the players there. But unfortunately, he failed that vault, and it's a very hard vault to make. All you know. Fair play to him for attempting it.
Yeah, you're dead.
Exactly. If he made it, they could have won. It was a good risk, I think, for them to make.
Agreed.
So to follow up on what we were hearing from Froz and Sims, yes, massive congratulations to victory coming out for Divine there, but it does feel like it's definitely a shoot-to-kill FaZe show so far. I mean, we've seen them have a massive amount of kills. Even in that last round, I'm glancing back over, I think it was second place for FaZe with like 6 kills, and then third place for Shoot to Kill with 10 kills. Yes, each one of them didn't have one round that was inside the top 5. For FaZe, they got 6th in that round. It's really just about positioning and plays that we've seen coming out from them. Do you guys see anything from what we've been watching in these first 4 rounds that could potentially put any type of damper on the plan and the plays that we're seeing coming out from these two teams?
I think FaZe is just getting really comfortable. Yeah, I agree with Cam. I think STK and FaZe are just getting really comfortable. Teams could potentially try to camp a rotation that they use often, or try to maybe hot drop them. But I mean, why? You know, what's the point of hot dropping at this point? I mean, we've even seen teams like DA and 4EM have somewhat of a little bit of a armistice, you know, a treaty, because it's just not worth it. And I don't really see any of the other teams kind of trouncing on them, unless they themselves make the mistakes. So I agree with Cameron.
Like how Cam just leans in. He's like, nope, that's the only words needed for that one. So at the leaderboard, you can see Shoot to Kill, 54 points. Back behind that's going to be FaZe Clan with 49. A little bit of a drop off back down to Burram at 33. Kia at 24. And then you can see it's tied up with Divine. And it is that neck and neck race that you've been talking about, Cam. All of these teams just so close to each other.
I am really surprised to see Kia up in 4th place. They've been grinding out placement points for the most part. I mean, again, they stand out in 4th because STK and FaZe have still been soaking up so many other points. So I don't know if they'd be as high if the points were more spread out. But again, this is too early for us to really throw our weight behind Kia as a fandom, as fans once again, just because it's still too little at the moment.
So we're at the end of the day. Half the round's done. We're about to close this thing up. Final thoughts. I'm going to give each one of you a little bit of a second to say whatever you want to say. I feel like Godspeed might have already given his 2 cents on what's going on, because I feel like maybe FaZe and Shoot to Kill might be some talking points you guys might want to throw out here. So Godspeed, you started off.
Obviously, FaZe and SDK played really well today. FaZe has been incredibly consistent since the weekly finals, even though, again, they didn't win and they found themselves here in the bottom 16. And the same thing to SDK. However, there's still 4 games tomorrow, and it is possible for one of those teams to have a bad game or potentially go out earlier than they want to, and then that could give any one of the teams in the 20-point range, kind of free reign to maybe get a good game in there and start to catch up. Because right now, yes, it is looking like FaZe and SDK will be taking the top 2 slots, but hey, 4 more games still left to go, and anything is possible.
Oh, we're bringing it back. Are we going back down this route? Cam, what
No,
you got for
We're
me?
not. I'm just joking.
We need to remember that this isn't necessarily about winning this weekend, while obviously being as high as possible, including at the very top, is important. The teams at the bottom, they can't just immediately count themselves out and look at teams like TSM, especially maybe like VP, that are lower down there than expected. Because again, we're gonna reiterate, the compounding effects of being so low in the bottom 16 is going to make it hard to reliably get into the weekly final for week 6, which is 2 weeks later. That's how much of a lingering effect that this all has. So even though SDK and FaZe, I'm pretty sure, are still going to be shoe-ins for the top 2 positions, there's still that big fat section of very neck and neck points in the midsection that we're going to see a lot of fighting and clawing and just chaos around tomorrow.
Well, that is going to set up everything for tomorrow. And remember, we still have 4 more games that we're going to be looking at. But don't forget, guys, if you're loving some PUBG action, I know that all the teams here look like they should be in the top 16, but they're not. We still have the top 16 matches that are going to be following up after this. It's going to be like an hour or so break, maybe 2 hours, somewhere around that line. I don't know. Whenever we're converting everything from North America to EU times, I lose it a little bit. But here in just a little while, we're going to be going live yet again to give you a lot more PUBG action. So make sure that you guys tune back in. And naturally, also a big shout out to our sponsors, Perrier, Intel, and Toomey, for everything that they provided for this. But guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, and we will see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget, tune back in for the rounds that are going to be following up in just a few hours. Thank you so much, and see you later.